What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Bridge the Gap. This is the show where we talk to interesting people such as yourself, Mr. Rene Marshall. My name is Holden
Never thought I was
Stephan.
interesting.
Not everybody, everybody's interesting. That's the thing. Everybody's interesting. It's just a matter of finding out what's interesting about them. And often, when you go through the story of someone's life, like we do here, we find out tons of a plethora of interesting stuff that people often don't even know about. Usually, people, or at least what I've come to learn on this show, is that people wildly have crazy stories of stuff that they just never talk about and you would never know about. Like people be hustling comic books at 8 years old. Like there's wildly interesting things out there, and then we just never hear it. So everybody's kind of interesting, but you're particularly interesting. So that's even better. On that note, it's a little different because you're like you're not that musical, is what I understand. You're not really on the musician front. So
Zero music.
I still think we're gonna run through my opening question and do this in like the same kind of format as if you was a musical person with an understanding that you're not. But before we get into that, can you just kind of briefly introduce who you are to the world, a little bit what you do, right quick, because I don't think people know what you do, and then a little like synopsis, and then just describe where you start your life,
Where I start my life. Okay,
like
so who
location
I am.
wise.
Location. Okay, so specifically, where do I start my life? All right, cool. Uh, so my name is Rene Marshall. I'm a financial security advisor with a small little firm here in Montreal, Quebec, called the Financial Independence Club. What I do is on the simple front. Basically, people's finances. We all have our own relationship with money. Most people don't understand how it works and how to make it work with them. So what I do is I take a shot, like a snapshot of their financial life, what it looks like today. And we try to find solutions to get them to where they want, figure out what's going wrong and things like that. I was born here in Montreal, but I was raised up in the middle of nowhere, a little town called Saint Hippolyte.
Fire.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah.
Because that's perfect. Because the opening question is going to go real early. And it's like I told you, everybody's got interesting stuff. And this opening question, well, it's targeted at musicians. It's still basically for everybody. So it starts with my girlfriend, though. And she's washing dishes one time. And she's got her phone out and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song. I got a feeling. Ooh. She's vibing and she dancing and she doing her thing. And I started wondering to myself, when in the fuck did this song become chorus music, right? Because if you really think about this song, you run it back like a decade and shit. It's like middle of the night party vibes. It's like the best time of your life. Like everybody's happy when this song comes on. Then like a decade goes by. Everybody gets a little bit older. The song doesn't change at all because it's a song. But all of a sudden, it's like now we put it on with workouts and chores, and it's like a song that brings us back to those times while we're doing the mundane and the boring. And it just seems like music kind of evolved a little bit over time with our relationship with it. And then I just started thinking about that with the little ones, like they're running around with their little trap musics and the different things, the different genres that maybe we don't necessarily inherently draw to due to our age, and they don't know that that is going to end up becoming the dishes music of their future. They just don't know it yet, or they don't know that. Like when I heard Pop Smoke, and I was like, "That's pretty fire." Now I'm just turning up the Pop Smoke in like the shower, and like that's just what happens to it, right? That's where we find it because that's where we're at in life. And then it just got me thinking about life journeys, right? And if you look at musicians in particular, or even most people, and you start hearing their life story type things, you start to realize everybody kind of starts at this like adolescent era, right? Like it's always like when you start to form your identity that the story seems to start. Like when maybe in music line, it's like you find your first favorite artist, or you start writing, or you start getting your first passions and hobbies in a more distinct way outside of like the realms of everything else. But then I was realizing that's not really where anybody's story starts. Like story always starts at 12 years old, but the story never starts at 12 years old. Like it really starts like way back in the beginning times. Like stuff that happens in childhood is hella like significant. Like I can remember being like 5 years old and stuff inside the home, and my dad had all these gray boxes in the room, right? Like the fucking amp, the preamp, the fucking radio, the tape deck, and be busting Led Zeppelin tapes and all kinds of stuff throughout the daytime to be all this like MC Mario Club mixed up, blasting through at the night times. My mom's was on the love songs and the musicals, the Disneys, all these different things, right? They created these ambiances and vibes, and they kind of influenced me, you know, outside of my habits, my taste. Everything got kind of changed and shaped by these different experiences that happened way before I had any control over anything in my life. And I feel like with music being one of the greatest universal connecting things on earth, I was hoping that we could start this off the same we do with everyone else, and you could bring us back to being the smallest Rene Marshall you can remember being, and tell us a little bit about what it sounded like to be you growing up, and a little bit about the vibes of your home like that.
So my home story, those, if anybody's watching right now, or if those who are watching in the future, like my life story, I have issues with my beginnings. You know, I felt like I was wronged by society, and like I wasn't, you know, properly catered to be able to master my full potential at this moment. You know, so we look back just in, you know, happy times. I grew up in a small house. We moved around a little bit when I was younger. Like before the age of 6, my memories are a little bit blurry, you know, before grade 1. But I grew up in this small house, you know, like it was literally like a shack, you know, like my mom bought a place that used to be a chalet. She did some renovations, you know, she basically added a basement that was insulated, but the top was still a shack, you know, and we didn't have the nicest house, you know, the floors weren't finished, walls weren't finished, it wasn't painted, there were ceiling tiles, you know, those old school office tiles that you see, you know, they had like stains in it, some were falling out. It was a fun time, you know. Think about music. My earliest memories of music, my mom had this huge record collection, like hundreds and hundreds of records, and they'd be all along the lines of like, you know, Fats Domino, you know, and I hear Blueberry Hill, you know, I found my thrill. It's like every time I feel good, like that song pops in my head. It's just this little smooth, like, oh, and it's like these are the good moments, you know, feelings. To go back to your music thing, I think, you know, a lot of our childhood we were raised with traumas and things happen, and there was always a song somewhere, you know. Radio was always playing, people playing, you know, outside and things like that. So it's kind of normal for us to link these, you know, musical moments to our feelings and things like that.
Facts. And this is like up in the middle of nowhere, Quebec. Was it like hella Quebecois music? Like that's something I'm curious about.
Nah, because we were English, right? So
Right.
like you know, when I grew up, I was like one of the, I think we were 4 English kids within a 10-kilometer radius. You know, like I grew up in the campagne, you know, if you ever take a trip up north to Saint Severn, things like that, think more woods than that. Like take one of those small little roads and keep driving for like 20 minutes, half an hour away from the city. And it's just like, there's a lake, there's some houses, there's not much to do. And there was one death, you know, within like 20 clicks. We had to walk maybe 45 minutes to get there. You know, and we would hitchhike sometimes.
Just to get to the store.
Just to get to a death. Forget about a store. Like we were lucky. We had like a movie store, a grocery store, and a depot and a gas station. Like that is it. So, you know, right away you have a small town of maybe like, you know, 10,000 people that's spread over, you know, hundreds of kilometers. And then you have like this really limited population density, you know, like on my streets, I can count them in my head how many houses there were.
That's wild.
You know, there was like maybe like there was, you know, my neighbor, one guy up there. There's like maybe 20, 30 houses in the area. So that means there weren't many kids. So I was one. There was like this guy Danny, this short little French kid. This guy Dallas, who was like super aggressive and like very very aggressive. He was a bully. Like the first time I met him, he tried to steal my bike. I say no, and he like punched me in the head, and I just like walked away crying. You know, like I don't know how I kept my bike in that time, but you know, like there weren't many people, so when things happen, you always know what's going on. Like the parents are very involved. Who was the other kid? There was Eric and this fat kid Nicolas.
You're like, I can like name all the kids because there was
all of them. Every single, literally, that was my life. There's 7 kids. So for me, most of my time growing up, I spent alone. You know, I was alone, like walking through the woods, just like looking at trees and like jumping off rocks. And like, this is not just when I was really young. This like went all the way until I was about 14. Because when you're 14, you start gaining independence. You start, you know, doing a bit more daring things. You know, I hitchhiked from Saint Hippolyte down to Saint Jerome starting at 14 just to socialize, because that's when high school happened. You know?
Wow, it's like you went to Saint Jerome because it was hot.
Yeah, literally. Saint Jerome was my downtown Montreal. Like we would hitchhike.
For anybody watching this that's not from Montreal in this area, I just gotta contextualize this. This is like, I live in Montreal, right? So that's huge. And like Saint Jerome it's okay, arguably it's got a little bit of a size to it, but to me it's some like back ass town that's like a 45-minute drive up north past civilization. It's like the cusp of civilization before it gets really not civilization. And you're saying like that's the downtown to you?
Like literally Saint Jerome was the last, like the only town when you're heading up north from Montreal, like the only town before you're hitting just wilderness. You know, after that, you know, there was Sever, which is literally like a 20-minute, half-hour drive from Saint Jerome, right? And Sever was like nothing, like it was just a ski hill. Like there was no malls and things and outlets and things, like it was literally just
like I've never really been up that north, right? Like so like I know what it is from like, okay, I've been to Saint Jerome, so I know where Saint Jerome is, but like beyond that I haven't really gone skiing or done any of that shit really. So like maybe we went fishing when I was a kid, but like we never really consciously like
fishing, right? Like that's what you do up north. Like
yeah,
literally fishing.
But I don't know what up north meant. My dad used to say we went up north, but in hindsight, I don't really know what it could have been like 5 kilometers north of Laval, or it could have been like really up north. Like I don't know what up north meant.
Yeah, you have to also think back in the so like Saint Jerome was like my downtown. It was like the first city. You know, that's where all of the younger women were. You know, the French chicks. Like Saint Jerome was hot for you know, entering into the dating life.
But like when you were young, so it was really like there's no hobbies or anything like that because you're just out in the wilderness, just exploring nature and shit.
Well, so again, there were like 7 kids, right? So I think I was part of the bad kids. You know, we used to smoke cigarettes and weed and like drink and, you know, so what we used to do, it would be me and literally the guy who tried to steal my bike. I ended up becoming friends with him because there's fucking nobody else. Like, what do you do? So me, him, and another dude, one of the other guys, he had like his dad had a chaloupe, you know, like a little boat that has a little motor on it, and like you can put some oars on it. And we used to literally just spend the day just boating around the lake, just drinking, getting high, stopping on islands, you know, and like having little fires. Like that's it. We chilled, like we were just chilling.
Did you have the internet?
All the time.
I know it sounds like a weird question, but like, cause like it could be up north nowhere you had shit internet while we had good internet.
Well, look, my memories are vague of the internet, you know, because when it started, there were some people in my household who just kind of like commandeered the internet system. You know, it was dial-up back then, right? I don't like. Here's another thing. A lot of people younger than me don't remember dial-up. Like dial-up was a thing. Like that was a like take like 5 minutes to load a photo. Like the internet was just like chatting and looking at blogs before. That's it.
Yo, you're right. And then the dial-up, if let's say you weren't supposed to be using the computer, you can get caught real quick when they called the house, and then that because it would like eat your line, right? Like you couldn't use the phone and be on the internet.
Or like I remember back then we used to download songs. Like it was in the beginning, like, you know, pre-piracy things and all that. It's just like, let's go on.
38 years to completion.
Imagine I'm like downloading a song or some off game that one of my buddies like told me to download or something like that, and then, you know, my mom goes and picks up the phone to call somebody, it just like breaks your connection too. Like there's nothing you can do. It was a different life like when I was younger, and you know, looking at kids nowadays, it's like this overload of, you know, and access and available to information. Yeah, it's cool, but like, what are they focusing on? Like, it's just like you have so much at your fingertips now. You have like 8-year-olds starting online businesses. It's nuts. I feel like I'm just missing out, you know.
Yeah, the idea that 8-year-olds be starting online businesses is kind of serious still, but because for me, I wasn't out there playing with trees and jumping off rocks and shit. Like, that is nothing like my growing up. So even to that end, I'm more like in Côte Saint Luc, going to the park here and there, but mostly like, we had video games and TVs. But there's just so many people around that it's like, you find the friends that got the tech and you figure it out. You get access to
Yeah.
things, or like even
So
like
us back
the
in the
public library, you could like get an hour online to go play Habbo Hotel if you wanted to.
got to use that library time, you know. For us, like, I mean, in school we hardly had like internet stuff. We were just outside kids. That's the thing, you know. When you think of like people who live up north versus in the city, because you're right, you grew up in Côte Saint Luc. I had my grandmother that lived in Côte Saint Luc, and my mom, she used to work a lot, so she would, you know, bring me to my grandmother's house. Well, she wasn't in Côte Saint Luc, she was in Ville Saint Laurent.
Okay.
And you know, she would drop me off at my grandmother's house on the weekends, or I would go to, you know, some other family members who all lived in Montreal. So when I came here and like, you know, I was just kind of like left to my own devices, like I was bored here in the city because, you know, you got cars, it's dangerous. Like if you don't know which kids to talk to, right? Like you go to a basketball court, okay? And like, you know, I used to play, you know, some basketball when I was younger, like soccer, like whatever we learned in high school and elementary school. And I was young. So, you know, I would bike a lot, bike around, find some kids, try to talk to them. They'd be like, who the hell are you? Like, you know, like get out of here. Like, you know, can you shoot? Can you do that? No, okay. So I made some friends, but like they knew I wasn't from there, and I would show up like once every, you know, couple of weeks, once a month, something like that. So they wouldn't be the same kids around. So I wouldn't be able to develop any relationships here in the city. So that's why, like, for me, the city was just like whatever. It's like less room for me to bike around, more dangers. There's these weird lights that tell me to stop, like street lights. The street lights weren't a thing for me, like at all. There were no street lights in Saint Spodet. Like I think I only knew of street lights because, you know, I had 1 or 2 years where I was growing up in LaSalle. Like, you know, I spent grade 1, I think, there.
There's none. Like I'm just trying to process. Like, because like for me this is wild, right? Like normally the conversation never goes to this like area of comparing northern Quebec to Montreal, but just like because like you meet country people, as I call them, and they'd be like wildly different. And like Bonnie kind of grew up more in like your frame of mind because she was in, what is it, Hudson? Not Hudson, fucking Howick, which is out by like fucking the, I don't remember what it's by, Ormstown,
Like area,
Ormstown and
okay.
shit.
Yeah.
And so it's like the
But
middle.
that's like farmland. That's a whole different life.
Right.
Like,
so I know a bit
like,
about
there's a
that
difference
vibe,
between, like,
and then you're describing this shit, and I'm like, hold up.
yeah.
What the
No,
fuck is this shit? Because you also probably got more snow and shit too, eh?
Oh yeah. Like my mom had 160-foot driveway, right, by like 20 feet wide, and it used to go up like and like there was like this hump, right? So I always had to shovel like before the hump, or else my mom wouldn't be able to get up, and like she would just get stuck, and I would have to deal with it anyway. So like I had a lot of responsibilities. You know, I had to bring in firewood. You know, I had to cord firewood and like, you know, to heat the house in the winter, or else we'd like literally die of like freezing to death because the heaters just weren't enough with our half insulated shack. You know, like, but you know, there is a difference between, and even I went to high school in Le Chute, and I went to elementary school in Morin Heights. Both 45-minute bus ride, by the way. It's number one, so we had a lot of time to chill on the bus. But Le Chute was like farm people, you know, a huge difference between people who do farming, people who like
Googling where the fuck
live in the woods.
Okay, so that's Le Chute. Wow, okay, Le Chute's near Oka, I think. Anyway, that's fair. Yeah. Damn, that's all far away land. Northern Quebec is a wildly different place. Like, I don't know anything about it that much. Like, you just kind of stops. Okay, so you went to Le Chute, and then you said Morin Heights, which I assume is somewhere over there. And
yeah. So like it was like 45 minutes. Like I was taking the bus at like 7 in the morning. You know, my mom was already gone to work because she worked in Montreal, so she would leave at like 6 a.m.
Hold on, how long
You
did
know,
your mom have to go to Montreal every day? Like how big?
oh, for
Like
forever,
how
right?
long was her trip? I mean, like to get there.
Oh, I used to think like when I started gaining, you know, consciousness, I used to start thinking my mom was insane for doing this. Like, and I made a conscious choice at that time, you know, seeing the struggles my mom had just to get to and from work,
Right.
to like never live far from work at all. And literally, whenever I worked at a place, I would move closer to that place just to not have to travel because it's just too much. She used to do, I think, like an hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning,
Oh my word.
and that's like regular. When it like snowed and it's like hell, she would leave at like 5:30 just to be able to get there at 8. It was, and I'm like, and at night
That means
it's
that
the same
like,
thing.
but that means like you're by yourself then a whole bunch because she'd be gone all
Oh
the
yeah,
time.
yeah, all the time. You know,
Wow.
I pretty much raised my sister. You know, she was there with me, and like this started when I was like young. It started when I was like 13. You know, so at 13, imagine I was you know in charge of you know taking care of the house, bringing in firewood, lighting the fireplace, you know, shoveling the driveway. Like, and if I didn't do these things, I always had this thought in my head that like nobody else is there to do it. You know, like I'm the man of the house. You know, so I gotta take care of this shit, or else we're gonna freeze. You know, it's my fault if we all die, kind of thing. Like I was raised with a lot of fears. You know.
Hmm. I wonder like, I mean, as much as it's wild, it probably helped you a lot in life with discipline.
My God, hold it. And like this is something I've noticed a lot during the pandemic and like pre-pandemic too. Like, you know, a lot of friends who went to university and high school and, you know, having trouble finding jobs and this and that. It's like I never had any of these problems. I would just be like, oh, I need to do this, so I just like figured out a way to do it. It made me extremely resilient and like resourceful, you know. So then I can like just I'm able to take care of myself, and I was able to do that from like a young age.
Right. So at that point though, while you were grinding it out, did you have like dreams and passions of what you wanted to be when you grew up? Like, did you have like this fantasy, like, yo, I want to be a rock star or some shit like that?
So what's funny is that when you're in a life with like a lot of stress, you know, like a lot of like not expect because I was a smart kid too, right? I had good grades in school, like, and I didn't have my parents there to help me with, you know, schoolwork and stuff like that. So my parents were always like, look, you need to become like an engineer or like this and that, strong math skills. But like, I didn't want that. You know, when I was younger, I liked working with my hands. You know, I like building things you know, I just enjoyed it. And, you know, the guidance from my parents kind of pushed me like away from my dreams or whatever. Like I wanted to solve, like in high school, I wanted to be in politics. You know, I wanted to stop this whole French English hate stuff because it affected me directly. You know, like
Hmm.
94, I was 8 years old, living in this small, like freaking nowhere town. We were an English family. You know, it's a lot of so I wanted to like, you know, stop the bullshit, you know, kill the hate. That was high school. When I was younger, I didn't care, man. I didn't have time to think about that shit. I just wanted to like, you know, live and play, like whatever, day to day.
That's fair. I respect that. And then being, it must have been hella politicized up there, I guess, if you felt that impassioned to be a politician. Um, but yeah. So as you're going through high school, do you get involved in anything like what is the
So
evolution? Because now I guess there's girls in Saint Jerome.
yeah, well, us just stick with the political, like French English stuff. There's this one crucial moment that I remember, you know, and this is what year was it? 2001, 2002. I think like some French shit was starting up again in Quebec.
Mm.
And it was winter. We used to have this restaurant across the street, this little pataterie across from our high school that we would just go and chill and smoke at and things like that because, you know, they wouldn't let us smoke on school property. And I remember we're all just hanging out, and then they're like, let's say maybe 300 people. Like our high school was two schools attached, you know, so we had the English side, the French side. English side had about 1,000 students. The French side was like 3,000, 4,000. Okay, so just imagine that
Hold up, there's
first.
that many English people up north?
Yeah, yeah, we're like maybe 800s, like, but this is for the whole region, like.
Okay. But still, it feels like, I don't know, maybe it's just ignorance on my end, but I'm like, there's still a lot of English people up there.
Yeah, but that's sec 1 to 5, right?
Right.
Like, you know, you're talking about like 100, 150 kids per grade.
Yeah, I went to a super small high school, like 300
Okay.
kids in the whole school, like 20
Oh
people. Yeah,
wow.
so like, I mean, that's in the middle of coast. Like, I went to Uyghur, so like, it's
Ah.
mad different sometimes in the city. Like, I know there's giant schools, but yo, you're telling me 4,000 kids in a collective school, like, bro, that's like,
Oh no, the French high schools were massive. Like compared to the English ones, they were just like
man, all of that. Even
so.
900 people, 1,000. That's still like, to me, that's a big
Yeah.
high school. I know it's not, but then like if you think about it, it's still like all of the area. But still, it's like, arguably only 3 to 4 times as many French people to English then, which is cool and interesting to think about.
Yeah. So I remember once we were just like smoking, and then like there's like 300 kids from the French side that just like show up across the street. They stayed on the school side, and they just start lobbing snowballs. So it turned out to be like a big snowball, and we're about like 30 people on our side. Just killing, and like there's like 150, 200 on the other side, just like lobbing snowballs. So, I'm staying out, I'm chilling with my buddy, whatever, and like we're just watching everything going down. And then there's this kid on our side who, he's a tough guy, like never cause fights, but don't fuck with this guy. And we see just one snowball just like go and hit him, and like everyone on our side just like stopped, and the dude just bolted, just like huge brawl just breaks up. And like this used to happen all the time, French English stuff. So like that, I was just like, this is stupid. Like, let's stop this garbage. And I saw it was like in the system. If you have politicians saying like, oh, English is bad, blah blah blah, you're in a French province. Of course, there's going to be a lot of like, English derived hate on that. So I wanted to just like end it. Me being from like a Jewish background too, hearing all the stories of the Holocaust and things like that. It's like, you can see the similarities of like, hates on both sides and things like that. We don't need to be divided. We can just, get along, maybe.
Maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know how to deal with Quebec politicians because, I mean, it's
There's no way.
2022. And
There's no way to deal with them.
I'll give it to Legault. He is a better package in terms of smoothing out the edges of the message.
You're going to get hated for that statement.
I'm not saying he spit in
So,
different rhetoric at the end of the
I'm not
day.
saying
I'm
you
saying
are.
he packages it a lot nicer than other people in the past have done it.
If it wasn't for the pandemic, I definitely think we would have seen a lot different from what he gave, because you're thrown into an emergency like garbage situation. Like, how did anybody deal with this? If everyone looks into their own lives and feel like, how did I deal with COVID? It's an embarrassment. Like why did we freak out so much? Things like the amount of stresses, the amount of lobbing snowballs at each
You
other
know
kind
what?
of thing over the
It
stage.
ties
Yeah.
back to that information thing. I was able to Google every influenza, fucking Black Plague, fucking everything, and oh my god, 20% of the world died once upon a time over plague shit, and everyone else
Yeah.
Googled the same shit. We all Googled, and that's a wild impact of Google.
Yeah, but so everybody Googled that, right? And we all have these capabilities. But why is it you're able to Google, the plagues and things like that, and realize shit, there were diseases that just wiped out people. This disease seems to be making an effect. I'm going to change the things that I'm doing in order to be preventative or proactive against this threat that's against us. And yet you have people, literally there's this whole freedom convoy, like screaming to relieve the masks and things like that. And I don't want to get too much into politics and stuff.
Nah,
This is
it's
like a
yo.
very heated discussion,
I got like a
but
real
it's like,
simple answer to that shit. People who know math and algebra, like the people who aren't anti-Pythagoras, like the ones who learn Pythagoras, just can understand that like stats have multiple layers better and can like follow science with a different perspective than people who don't understand math. Like if you can calculate ratios in your head immediately, you can do a lot of damage reading the news and not being afraid. But if you
Yeah.
actually can't do math, and I'm not trying to be like a shithead, this is like a real thing I believe in my heart and soul, that it turns out Pythagoras was the most important thing high school ever taught me, with the irony of all the memes that hate this shit, because arguably I can read the news and call bullshit when appropriate.
Yeah.
And
But
then,
there's further levels to that, though. They're like, my sister, she started studying for psychology, right? And she has a research methods class, and I took research methods in
yeah, that was
college,
a
but it's like
great
it's college.
class. I love that.
It's college level, right? You learn how things are made. Like you learn
I loved it.
how news articles are spiked, and even this conversation, people can take snippets of it and say like, Rene hates these people or Holden hates these people or we believe in that, but it's like, where's your source? Where's your source referencing? And she's telling me about studies, like actual studies that, created like laws and things like that. And what's wrong with them? Why?
That's a fair point, actually, because you bring up that, like, the CEGEP, like, if you take social sciences, I believe, you have to take the quantitative methods, research methods. I took advanced quantitative methods, and then there was that fucking one where you either write the paper or do an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was the most useful shit I ever took in life.
Yeah, because you get to question your own thesis.
But you also learn, like, the science of science. Because, science class doesn't really teach you the science of science. Stat class teaches you the science of science. And I think that's a misconception, because science is really just the scientific method with testing. But to measure the results requires a real statistical analysis. Honestly, if y'all want to learn some shit, Google Analytics Academy is a great place to go learn some basics and shit, like, on the real. But, like, to me, it's like, that's like a basic literacy thing now, but it's not being communicated that way, because I really don't believe the government.
It's not even being imposed.
Because I think the government would rather go and talk about how protests should be weekend parties where everybody goes home, because the other side of that shit is the government is misplaced. I'm like as mad at the government as anything else, because like their attitude is inflaming. They want it to escalate so they can shut down our right to protest.
So hold on. So you're making a statement there. You're making a solid statement that basically the government is colluding in order to make us like weak-minded.
It's mostly, I say it, and it might just be all Doug Ford, but like Doug Ford literally put out a
Isn't he the guy who did coke? Like, hold on.
No, that's his brother.
The guy who
it was his brother.
Oh, that's his brother. Okay, all right. So
Rob Ford
I don't
is
follow
that one.
anymore.
So Rob Ford is the former crackhead mayor of Toronto, and that's not a. It's just kind of how it's branded now. It is what it is. Arguably, it was a good mayor from what I saw. I don't know, but his reputation's pretty fucking wild.
Look,
I don't know.
You smoke weed. I've done drugs.
Look, I'm not saying anything other than I've heard very mixed results on that guy's performance. And then his brother ends up winning politicians because something happened with some Ontario win lady and nobody liked her. So he kind of came. I don't really know enough about Ontario politics. Either that. But Doug Ford was honestly on the internet being like, you guys are not protesting. It's an occupation. You guys like should just come here, make your peace and go home. And at that point, I'm like, bro, that's not how protests work. You don't get to like tell us to go home. That's where the government's doing this wrong. They're not saying here's how to protest correctly. They're trying to redefine protest the way Montreal did. So it's like a 4-hour deal and get the fuck out and nothing changes. And that shit is a misplay on the government to me.
Okay, but hold on. You're stating nothing changes. Like, look, right now they're dropping all restrictions.
No, I say in Montreal protests. Montreal protests in the way that they're designed, where the government can approve them, and you have to have a start and end point, and if it goes past that end point, it's illegal and they shut it down. I'm sorry, but Montreal protests can't create change because it's kind of like they can't be effective, because in 2012 it was effective, and they made it so they can't be effective again.
So remember that whole thing we were talking about Windows and iPhone and the whole thing with control, right? Basically, the government's setting out guidelines to be like, look, if you don't want this to turn into an escalated disaster where everybody's like lighting fire to things, this is how we're going to do it, right? Speak your piece or whatever. Because legislatively, like a protest doesn't change laws, right? No. It's a vote of the people, or it's actually all, I don't know what they call it here, but like the cabinet. Right. I was going to say Congress, but yeah, the cabinet decides all this. There's a legislative body that decides this. It's not Trudeau. Like, I don't think Trudeau's here like proposing his own laws and things. Like, he's more of the the what do you call it, the compass, I guess, of how to direct things. Like, he's not going to come in and be like, now I'm prime minister, I'm going to put all my own laws down and things, like, screw everything else. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
fair.
feel that's how politics work here.
No, there's definitely like a giant legislative office that drafts laws all day, and then they debate these laws. It's super similar to the States, I think, where the people draft laws and then they debate them.
And did you know that these law debates are like live streamed? Like, you can go and sit in on them. You can go and watch them. The thing is, nobody does. So we don't even know what laws are being passed until they're actually passed. And I think that's the biggest issue. We're not involved in our politics at all. And like, to me, that's what you do. That's the right way to live if you trust your government, though. It's when you don't trust your government that like everything gets like, opposed at every step.
And I'm not necessarily wanting. I don't really believe that the mandates need to be removed, and I think there are multiple. I think this protest is actually multiple things at once being grouped together, and people are cherry picking things to represent the whole group. That's what I think.
Is that how things always happen?
Yeah, but I really think that there should be a way that you can be annoying in public to make a point over time, because arguably that does actually create change in multiple occasions in history. So yeah, kind of it does. It doesn't create new laws necessarily, but
I feel
already,
when changes are made like that,
Mr. O'Toole is no longer in office, and that's an actual change that is directly influenced by this protest. And so forever,
I guess the two MPs who left the Liberal Party too, they're the same boat.
So it's like, I know for a fact that Rene O'Toole was a direct response to an interview with the leader of the convoy. Therefore, it created change, whether it's meaningful or not, and thus it makes
but the changes, we removed Rene O'Toole, right? So what are the things that Rene O'Toole stood for that?
I mean, he was a wishy-washy guy to me, but my point is that regardless, when you write the Wikipedia page about this, it will have that section where that change is created, and that's a real thing.
True.
And so I'm just gonna point. So I'm not. So if you're in that protest and you see you made a little change, what are you gonna do? You're gonna run it. And like, I'm not trying to like, again, I'm just trying to understand it all for me, right? Because I see the government saying one thing, the guys that I know partying in the raves, or because it's like, it looks like a rave half the time.
It really does. It looks like what do you call it? The Burning Man concert or something. It's like a festival. It's like a trucker festival.
It looks kind of
every year they should do this. Just have a trucker festival in Ottawa. All the streets blocked off. We have trucks and food trucks and things like that. And
the tax money you can make on that.
Right? This is good for Ottawa. Ottawa should jump on this and capitalize.
Bro, I don't think Ottawa's ever had this much attention in like ever.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, I'm not there. I'm not dealing with the honk, but damn, it's a wild thing. Canada, but you know what's crazy? And like, I don't want to like forever talk about this, but Canada has now started 2 international protest waves in the last 10 years. It took, because the last one was 2012, but we really did that. Yeah. Now there's literally trucker convoys around the world and shit. And it's like, man, it's a wild thing. It makes it the most convoluted shit I've ever seen, where it's like, I don't know who's right or wrong in this, but I'm worried that they're going to take away our right to protest.
Look, a point on that. Canada's free, right? To be able to have that many truckers for that long, like literally occupying a city, like it or not, like they are, taking possession of the city.
It's a stretch of a term.
Okay, but like, where do you change the speech from protest to occupation, right? Is it a protest because people are like able to still function in society while the protest is going on?
What the fuck's occupation by definition? I haven't actually.
Because the thing is, I'm hearing of businesses in Ottawa that can't function. A lot of them shut down. There's like issues with noise complaints in children's hospitals.
It's the action, state, or period of occupying or being occupied by military force.
None of it's military, so.
You see what I mean? It's like, to me, they're sensational. Is it like kind of like it? Could you say kind of like an occupation? I would accept that. But I feel like, nah, it's not. There are a bunch of you could do the military thing and stop it if you wanted to.
Like, let's say they were a concise, unified group, right? right? And you're saying the truckers. It's like the truckers are part of
Well,
it,
there's
but
the
they're not like
truckers, then there's the artist hippies, then there's the internet crowds, then there's the counter protesters of the internet, then there's the actual government officials, and then there's the media, and then there's the government, and then there's the bystanders. And all of these people are part of it in individual
yeah.
opinions and groups. And nobody is ever commenting on the wide spectrum of this shit, is my only real beef with it all.
Mm. So, what would you like to comment on the wide spectrum of this? Then, like you brought up I feel like you touched on something. I'm not seeing what you're seeing, so share away.
I think that inherently, I don't really want the mandates gone. But if we talk about the concept of like meaningful discourse, like there's just this weird thing. I feel like back in the day, it was you were allowed to protest and march and do shit. And it feels like this is being vilified. And
yes,
I don't know that this is the smart choice considering the state of the world and all the things happening international politics wise. And there's this giant.
That's a whole other conversation.
No, but I think that like this whole thing is being used to almost distract people from some really other stuff. And
that's conspiracy lines now.
Fair. But like, okay, the way the media is very pointed in where it focuses people.
Media is awesome at making things interesting for people to look at.
Yes.
Like that's in essence, that's what the media is.
Or I don't know. Our interests are like different and because it's almost ludicrous rather than serious.
Yes. And I feel that's the problem with this protest, right? Their demands or their points weren't clear from the beginning, and even now are not. Like there's a lot of mixed messages of what people are asking for out of this. And I feel the reason is because people are just asking for help and to be heard, because everyone's like tired of this fucking pandemic that we've been stuck in for 2 years. A lot of people lost a lot of money. A lot of businesses, business owners lost their shirts. They have all these government loans and things like that they have to pay back.
They have to pay back all that government money?
Yeah, but it's like subsidized. It's like you have to pay back some, but like, no interest. It's a good deal for businesses who are able to get through the pandemic. But there's a lot of businesses that shouldn't have been open before the pandemic. And you know which ones, right? Like we see them all the time, these places, and you're like, how the fuck are they making money?
Can you give an example without, I don't know exactly what version of that you mean. There's kind of like I don't know if you mean like money laundering crime shit, or if you mean like that.
Oh no, that's always going to go on.
Or if you mean like that's a stupid business, and in which case, do you have an example of a stupid business?
I don't want to like put my face on something like that, but
just a
like
general. Make up a fictional version of what you mean then.
There's like this shoe store, okay, near my office. This is fictional, by the way.
Fictional
There's no shoe store near my office. There's the fictional. Actually, look, I have a lot of friends in NDG. When I go to NDG, these are the places I see the most because I know how much rents cost. Rents in some stores are between $1,500 and like $5,000 a month for this like little tiny nothing, right? And you have a place that like just opened up like this new little restaurant, right? Now the ones who've been there forever, they've paid their dues, they have their clientele, like they've built it up. But you have this new place that's selling like fucking, I don't know, cupcakes, right? And it's just a hype. It's just a temporary thing because it's trending. I think Montacos like falls into that. These like little hype businesses that they'll just explode everywhere to test locations. And then as time goes on, obviously they'll limit towards their efficient, business models. And another thing you have to think about, these are all franchises. It's all random business owners taking a shot, thinking, I think people will buy tacos in this area. Like, I don't know. It's too many places, too many businesses, too many restaurants. I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm not clear on this one.
If I'm understanding correctly, you, with your perspective, look at the bigger picture of the viability of businesses over time. So you see a Montaco location, and you're like, okay.
90% failure rate for all businesses.
You know what's interesting about Montaco is because I can comment on this because I don't give a fuck. there's what I call Uber Eats restaurants, and because I live on
Yeah.
like I'm on Summerlid-ish, and Summerlid is full of these places that people are kind of high key praising, and I'm like low key going, none of the economics of these places make sense except for Uber Eats, and if it were not for Uber Eats, none of these businesses could charge what they charge and be where they are, but they all do
Yeah.
that. And so it's completely dependent on delivery services and the fact that most of the clientele will just buy it from
Be
anywhere.
lazy.
Well, it's like, cause like, yo, the Mont Taco, I don't even know where the fuck it is, but bro, when they got the 2-for-1 Grinch special, we was on that shit. And frankly, that's what it is. They're in that category of food for me. Like, yo, if it's on special and I can Uber Eats it and it's that time of day, cool. But otherwise, fuck a Mont Taco. No offense to them.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things on the whole Uber Eats brought to the table to businesses, which wasn't a thing before. You know, like Uber Eats is a very new thing. And again, just like dial-up internet, there's going to be people who don't know a life before Uber Eats, right? Uber Eats was revolutionary. This is where you can have a delivery service and you don't have to hire delivery drivers. You can have people have access to your food from like all around whatever without having the responsibility of making sure it arrives. It's like this magical thing. Now, problem with Uber Eats is the cost, right? Not only to, to create a driver, so to the client, but to the restaurant business as well, because this is a service that Uber Eats is offering the business. So they're taking a cut from the business owner. And this is, I'm just going to make one point like that. I hear a lot of complaints about in the restaurant industry. People doing pickup through Uber Eats, it's like you're going to pick it up. And I understand Uber Eats is a sales resource that makes your life easy to just click on a screen, but like call the restaurant and help them like put some money in their pockets, like you're going to pick it up anyways. Why the fuck are you using Uber Eats? I don't get it.
Okay, I had one moment recently that might explain some shit, and this is actually a weird thing to have to admit in public. So I went to Bustan in real life. I hadn't been to a real life restaurant, and I didn't know how to order what I wanted. I know this is fucking corny, but you're like looking at the menu and you're like, wait, where's the... And it's not like the Uber Eats. And then because Uber Eats is mad custom too now, right? You're like, bro, put the this and the that. And you don't have to, you can just save it. And it's just easy.
Suggested for you.
And then now I'm in real life and I'm trying to explain to Mans what I want. And honestly, the order wasn't even exactly it. It was off. It wasn't exactly what I would have gotten from Uber Eats. And it was hard to communicate with the restaurant man. And like... That happened like 2 weeks ago, bro. So this isn't even like a long time. It was just like
So let me ask you one thing. When you were there, right, and you're in that moment that you don't know what to order, did you take the time to take out your Uber Eats app and like look at the order that you usually order?
I could do it in my head. I was trying to explain to him the Uber Eats order, and he couldn't understand me because this wasn't Uber Eats, and the options on Uber Eats didn't match exactly the options on the menu. They were different.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know there was like different. I knew they changed the pricing, but I didn't think they changed the menu.
Well,
itself.
It's like stuff like, and it's wild. It's the fucking chicken poutine at Bustan, right? It's mad easy, but then it wasn't exactly a chicken poutine. It was a mixed poutine. I didn't want a mixed poutine. I just want to, and so like,
give me the fucking chicken. Just leave the shawarma, bro.
So I was trying to explain it to him, and I was just like, I'm not going to pretend I was sober and it was easy for him to understand me, but it was really hard for me to explain it. And I realized in that moment, it's actually hard to order food at Uber because I hated calling food before. I used to loathe ordering food over the phone. It was like, I'm one of those people. And so like,
do you have anxiety?
No, I just hate fucking trying to explain the specific nuances of fucking food choices to people because everyone's like, and then you have to confirm it, then you have to triple check it, and then it's like, you're like, okay, on the first burger, hold the tomatoes, and then, Uber Eats makes that part of it mad easy.
Yes.
So easy.
If you're a complicated person.
I am. And usually the people I eat
why
with
you gotta be
is.
so complicated, man? Like, what's wrong with you?
I have my own neurotic traumas from childhood, bro. I be dealing. I try hard. I broaden my horizons, but man, I don't like no onions and pickles and shit. I don't want that on my fucking crap.
No fucking pickled chips. Fuck you.
It's facts, though.
I get it. No, if you're complicated, right? If you're complicated,
and I am complicated.
Get the service. Like, look, taxes for people, or what I am as a financial security advisor, right? People's fucking shit is complicated. Like money is complicated. It's not simple, right? So, you need help. Uber is that help for food, right? It gets you that what you need.
Nah,
You're
but
paying
I
a
have
bit
my
more,
beef
but
with Uber is that because as I say this, I don't really like Uber Eats, and I would suffer to order food more complicatedly if I was given the choice. But nearly every restaurant that I want to order from no longer has a phone number I can call, which is problematic to me. Or like the restaurant won't deliver to me because I'm out of range now unless I use Uber Eats and things like that. So the dynamic changed. But like something I was complaining about like 4 or 5 years ago is how Uber Eats just raised the price of food in delivery land so drastically that it went up easily 30-40% in the course of 5 years, and everyone just
I
accepted
can
it.
tell you for a fact it went up 30-40% because Uber charges restaurants, I think, like 30%. So of course, in order to reflect that, restaurants to be able to make the same money, they just raise the prices
I
with
mean,
it.
it's like, yo, I remember I used to be able to cop crazy food for like $11. That's a dream, bro. It's over. It'll never happen again in my life.
Not delivery.
Yeah, but delivery, I'm saying. Like, you used to be able to get, like, extra
Yeah.
large ass pizza, fucking thing, $10.99, blah, blah, blah. And
Well,
it
the
was,
Domino's thing's still $9.99, the
no,
extra large,
no, no, no,
but
no, 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 it's not. I know all about Domino's. It costs $20 to get a large pizza, bro.
or sorry, the pizza. Hold on.
Pizza's trash, though. Let's be fucking real.
Hey, I used to eat pizza. Like that used to be my life, like savior.
I know, and
Now
it's
since I
cool,
discovered
but, like,
Absolutely, I have to
let
stop
me
that.
rephrase
So.
it. There used to be half decent $11 large ass pizzas, not just pizza where you're, like, eating it going, man,
But
I
but
have
but
to eat this.
Holden, there used to be half decent everything.
Oh, there's
Like
still
look at
good chicken, bro.
furniture now.
You can find good
Look at
chicken.
furniture, man. Like I know you probably haven't like went furniture shopping or whatever, but like to
Fuck no.
get quality furniture, man, like you can't go to IKEA. Like not to talk against IKEA, but IKEA has a certain quality.
No, spit
Okay,
that real shit, though. This is good advice for everybody.
like look, you go to IKEA because it's cheap, it's gonna do the job, but you're not looking at fucking ultra comfortable couches or this, and these things aren't made to last. It's made with like pressed wood with like freaking like these metal bolts that they literally drill, put inside, and you screw something into that. If that comes loose because it's glue, which one day it will, your table's done. Like it's fit, and we've all seen this with fucking IKEA furniture. Like after time it gets a bit wiggly. You screw the things up so much, and then at one point it just pops out or cracks, or it's not. It's IKEA, man. You're going there because it's cheap. And this is something I've noticed a lot with buyers, and I've been testing it myself with my business. People run for price. If you have, and this is where Amazon like really shows that, or you go to Amazon, you're looking for headphones, right? A lot of people, yes, there's a quality argument, but a lot of people will, for the first time they're ordering, will go with price 100%. They're buying those $2 shits, whatever. Then they're going to realize it's trash, and then they're going to buy something a bit better. And it's like this rotation. There's no research in these things. It's just like, how can I get away with spending the least amount? Click,
That's true.
And this is where the DoorDash comes in versus Uber, right?
Can I give a little defense to the researching?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a hard amount of effort to research any of these individual products because, frankly, all the review sites are not good.
You have to ask friends.
But yo, like, let's say you're in the headphone game, particularly. Like, it took me, what, 2-3 months to find, or not that long, 3 weeks. I'll say 3 weeks to find my requirements, because I had requirements for my headphones. I had to figure out shit that had less like bleed when I'm recording music, but still, anyway, a bunch of shit like that.
Okay.
And it took me.
But that's a specialized.
No,
product,
but then it made
right?
me like no, it's not even. It's $160. It's actually
no. But it's a specialized product because you do music recording. You need something. The average person is not.
But then it got me. But then it got me into like headphone research, which is the same headphone research. Everyone. Then I'm looking at all the same dumbass terms, and I don't know what open back and close back is, and you have to go down this rabbit hole just to fucking understand half the shit. And then it's like, bro, it's headphones.
And then a lot of rabbit holes are lies. Too.
And let's be real, it's like headphones, right? Like, frankly, yo, chances are the $80 headphones will be alright. Chances are.
And I see this a lot in the financial industry. You know, people come to me and they're like, Rene, you know, like I need the best investment. Like that fucking means nothing. There is no best investment. Like what are you trying to do? You know, like if you're trying to live, well, the best investment's a house because you're gonna have a house to live in. You know, like if you want to make the most money, well, what are you willing to risk, right? And that's the real question when it comes to like looking at how to manage your shit. Like there's no best anything. It's the best for you at this moment right now today. Because those headphones might be the best for you right now, but if you want to go jogging, Holden, I'm sorry, they're not the best.
Nah, they're not.
Headphones.
Upon
Exactly.
which, I got the next. I fucking headphones and computer monitors are two things I have had to research recently for that kind of shit. But no, now I got like the little earbuds because I caved and the whole world's on the wireless earbuds because let's be fucking real, wireless earbuds are kind of bomb and you can go jogging.
I like my, you know, like flaps.
I didn't even buy them. My girlfriend got them for me.
See, that's the truth.
I'm
I
sold
think
though.
that's where most consumerism is. It's not people buying shit for themselves. It's people who buy shit for other people.
Well, here's the thing. I got her them too. Like it's weird. Like, cause I got her headphones and shit. Cause again, it was one of the few topics I cared a lot about in life. It was really
Are you guys jogging together now?
No, but she had shit headphones and it bothered me, so I had to get her proper headphones. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. You can't be listening to music like it's trash. You need proper. And then she still uses shit headphones when she wants, but like she has the choice now. She got bomb ass fucking. Or no, I think she got her earbuds actually with her phone. I might be wrong. That may have came with her phone. I know I got her other headphones though. So then she got on that wireless life, and then she's sitting there doing dishes and can't hear me and shit. And so you start to see the habits of other people. And that's when you kind of go, oh, say word. And then you see every AirPod motherfucker with their little fucking white shits. And you're like, why is everyone doing this? There has to be something more than status if everybody be doing this, right?
Oh, no. People just like looking to music, man. When I used to go to Dawson, like when we were riding the train, I'd be listening to music the whole ride. Because or else you're
But
just
then
hearing.
it's like I realized I started caring about my haircut and my hair. And this stopped being practical for the bus. I'm like, oh, say word. Motherfuckers just care about their haircuts.
That's why they get the AirPods.
That's what it is.
No, I think it's.
I think it's a part of it.
What is it? AirPods? I don't know. I didn't get in the whole like. I almost did. You know, I looked into it, but I'm like, I looked at the price and things like that, and I'm like,
apparently they're actually
fucking
worth
headphones.
it, though.
You know, like it's fucking headphones. Like what? I don't even listen to music nowadays. Like, what do I need headphones for? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know? So now when I want to listen to music, I have a freaking. I have my Bluetooth speaker and I jam.
But even for like shit like
that.
this, bro, AirPods are always crispy. There's like a lot of value in them. Like they're like surprisingly powerful tools where I have nothing bad to say about their price. Like Apple created a product worth what they charge.
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree. Look, I rock an iPhone.
I want to get an iPhone, but not this gen because my Galaxy S10 is still too good to justify that.
I'm rocking an iPhone 7.
You need a new
I'm
camera,
in the past.
bro. You just need a new camera. That's why you need.
Oh no, this is my laptop.
No, I mean for your phone. That's the only. That's why you get the new phone, honestly, because then you can become like you can just create content wherever you at.
So here's the thing with cameras, and I really paid attention to this evolution because you know I grew up in the woods. I like nature. I like taking pictures of shit. I don't, but like I just you know I have my sister who used to and whatever, and she bought like herself you know one of those Nikons. You know I dated some girls in the past who had like the nice you know fancy Nikons and things like that. I don't know. Those compared to a phone, the phone's always trash, no matter what. Like, but nowadays, you know, this was up until like maybe 5 years ago. But now, like, you know, you have 12 megapixel cameras now. Like, holy shit, you don't even need a camera anymore.
You don't. And I mean, I know a lot of people do that, say it's weird, but even if I don't know if y'all know it, but like Cole Bennett from Lyrical Lemonade is almost trying to prove to you don't need a camera. You can do it all on your phone, and that 80% of the shit that makes it look nice is actually editing, lighting, good. Because you can buy like lenses for your iPhone and shit, particularly with the iPhone.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it's like, I have gimbals. We already got like, I think we have 2 gimbals in the crib right now for phones, and like one of them's a tripod gimbal thing. So it's like, you can cop that shit mad cheap, and then it's like, that's why I would encourage people to at least get a phone that has a good camera. Because honestly, especially if you're any kind of influencer knowledge person, yo, you want the ability to pull out your phone in a nice location and film a video and not have to
But
worry because you have
but
that
see,
tool.
that's the key words though. If you're an influencer, if you're a person of knowledge, most
Okay,
people don't fall into that.
nah,
But
most
yet
people
the
are.
majority of
I'm gonna
phone
have to dispute
sales.
that shit. Most people are in niche specialties that we don't care about. I'm sorry, but if you into mushrooms and shit and you be filming mushroom TikToks, yo, that's fire. Go do your thing. And when you really get into social media, most people are just niche specialists. Like half these girls are actually like in the makeup game. And like a lot of things like
So
that are actually specialties and wisdom, and it's just not shit I care about.
yeah, I get you. Yeah, I guess in like a niche business online world, and like that's if you're chasing internet money, right?
Which
Because there's still other jobs. Like I know a lot of people focus on internet money, like this is magical thing that's going to solve everyone's problem. I'm just going to make a YouTube channel, make millions of dollars. Like it's a lot harder than that. I've seen people go through the internet model like many times, and that's a scary fucking beast. Like holy
do you
shit.
know why people be
Like
like that though? It's because when you go to your day job now, that's all they're doing. Everybody be like dipping out a brick and mortar, brick and mortar. And I'm not
yeah.
like playing. Like I work in a company that is essentially a giant internet store. Like what? Okay, we have a lot of departments and shit, and I've just been watching the transition of retail to internet economy for like the last whatever. And facts
Oh yeah.
is like a lot of people doing it are they might be bad at it, but like arguably it's a legitimate use case to have a good phone on hand.
Sure.
That's all I was saying.
I wasn't arguing against that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Trying to convince me to buy a new phone,
Yeah,
this guy.
absolutely. I want you to buy a new phone so you can get on fucking TikTok proper and be fucking, yo, my name's
Oh
Rene
fuck.
Marshall. I be
Like
fucking spitting my money shit at you.
here's okay.
Knowledge
Here's the other
games.
thing. Time, right? Time is a big thing, and the older you get, the more you realize how little or how much or what value 24 hours in a day is.
That's
Right?
facts.
And I compare myself to my peers. I'm a grinder, right? Like I fucking I'll do the work to get the money, to get, like, if I see, if you want to talk about my beginnings or whatever, this industry, like if you want to hear about my
I
whole
do
like
want to hear
work
about it. I
story and
just
how I
also like the
got to here.
tangents. This was just like, you let it flow, right?
Yeah.
So,
No,
so,
you and I, we can tangent all fucking day, man. Like,
bro, everything in my opinion we say is hot shit for me at least. So this is good.
so I find I find there's like things need to change in the work industries. Like people working in call centers, they haven't been happy for decades now. Like literally, like we've been
Did you
hearing
start
about
in a call
call
center?
centers. Not zero. I've never actually had a call center job. I like I never lived that life. Like just day in. I had two jobs that were very close, but they were like small businesses. Like one had maybe 20 employees, the other one had like 8, and I was like, order entry consultant, whatever, for like distributors. So I wasn't even dealing with like retail people. I was dealing with B2B.
Right.
So like, and even the other call center business was always like I did B2B. I never did like call center person to client like that. I don't
Just
even know how to
okay.
do that.
B2B, everybody. In case y'all don't know, sometimes because that's a jargon alert in my head, is
Oh,
business to
sorry.
business. It's when you basically company to company, and it's super different. Everybody's chill on B2B calls. Everybody's like,
They
bro, I
really
don't
are.
want to be here. You don't want to be here. But this is our jobs, and it's a whole different. I love B2B calls. They're really actually kind of fun. B2C is you when you're calling up the fucking whatever, and you mad. That's B2C. It's
Yeah.
the end user consumer shit.
Business to business, I love, because the thing when you're dealing with a business, everyone just wants to get their shit done. If
Mm.
like if I need this fucking tool to go and do a job tomorrow, like I need it today. So I'm dealing with the logistics. I'm dealing like let's make this possible for you. When you're dealing with a client, like retail, it's like, hi, I need a new battery for my vape. It's like, fuck you and your fucking vape battery. You can go to Best Buy. Like, what the hell are you doing calling here? Like, I don't know. It's a lot of headaches, a lot of entitlement. I do Uber Eats for fun. Okay. Yesterday, let me tell you a story. Yesterday, I went and did my first. It was an Apple delivery. I was like, "What the fuck is Apple doing on Uber Eats?" I had to pick up this like laptop from Carrefour Laval, bring it all the way the fuck downtown. It was paying good money, so I'm like, "All right, whatever. This will be fun, new adventure." I get there, the lady wasn't there. Now this is an Apple laptop. I'm sure it was like a fucking MacBook Pro or some shit, and she wasn't there. It was a security guard, and so I call her, and she's like, "Yeah, you leave with the security guard." Now on the Uber app, it's signature, her name. There's no way for me to fucking change it, put like this other guy signed or whatever. So I'm like, okay, what do I do in this case? I call Uber Eats, and I'm like, hey, this is the situation, whatever. And he's like, no, you need her to sign, because it's Apple's liability if the laptop doesn't make it. It's Uber Eats liability, right? There's all these like legal shit in the background. So I'm like, look, are you coming here? No, I won't be here. I'm like, look, sorry, but I have to bring it back. So I called Uber again. I'm like, look, send me back with it, whatever. I leave. She calls and she starts giving me shit. Like, this is unacceptable. It's going to be in a locked room and blah, 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 blah. And like, I don't even fucking work for, like, I'm not a call center representative or whatever. I'm like, look, ma'am, call Uber. Like, it's not my problem. But like, those are the type of, and she's like, this is unacceptable. This. I'm like, look, did you notify Apple that somebody else will be signing for you? No. Okay. Did you say, and the worst is I try to make exceptions. When I first showed up, I went to the security guard and I'm like, look, can you just write on a paper that you're signing for this person? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay, goodbye then. Like, what do you want me to do? Fuck. But people, I feel people with customer service, because they paid some money, they're just so like I deserve reparations and I deserve it now. My first job, I worked in a restaurant, and this is like a restaurant in St. Jerome, but like small town nowhere, the mall, like the one in the mall. Waitresses are like 40 years old, 45, 50, like small place. My boss, he was from Greece. If people weren't happy, he literally told them to fuck off. Like get the fuck out of here. And that's the way business was back then, up until like this whole protection du consommateur and stuff. So things started shifting, but now people are just like fucking complaining about anything.
So because of the law, business owners can't legally tell clients to fuck off? Well,
yeah. If you literally buy something and there's a huge return policy nowadays, like we have the 30-day minimum, some stores like 90, things like that. But essentially a service, if you didn't get the service that you paid for, you can bring them to court. You can get fined, you can get sued, or, like they pay money for that shit. Let's think of it. You order something, they don't deliver, you can complain. We have the right to complain now. And it's great because we're way protected as consumers, but it hurts businesses. Big time, because
so in a sense though, you can say it's like ingrained into our culture to complain, because like it's like a lot of laws. Like, if y'all don't even know this one, let's say you come across a item in a store, right? And you come up to the cash and you saw a number on sale or whatever. And when they scan the number that wasn't registered, you get $10 off. And if it's less than $10, it's free. And that's insane. And I've tested it. Like and you just quote this law, and every cashier / person. Here's the thing: you find out about it when you're a cashier. Okay, you don't find out about this law. I used to work at the video store, and at the video store, like sometimes we'd fuck up, right? Like we'd be running this shit if like you didn't put the sticker on right or it didn't get updated, and you find like these people be like, "Test my gangsta. You really want to be the employee? You really want your name on that shit?" And I'm like, no, you can have this for free. My manager is going to deal with that shit. That's not my problem. Yeah. And then you test it yourself, and it works. I've gotten free food a few times.
So I have a story on that. This is back in Dawson, so I think 2005 to 2009. In fact, we're talking about 10, 12 years ago. So remember there was a store called Zeller's. Remember Zellers?
Great store. Okay. Wonderful.
So there was a Zellers. I love Zellers. I hate that they're gone. Anyways,
Atwater one too. That was a good Zellers.
Yeah. Which one?
Atwater.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Atwater. So Atwater Zellers. We used to go to Dawson, and I was with some buddies, and one of them goes in and comes out, and he's like, "Yo, they had a sale for like somebody printed a sticker for popcorn machines, literally fucking popcorn machines." And I think it was supposed to be $39.99 or something like that, but it put it as like $9.99 or like some stupid price. It was the wrong price, but it was under $10. So my buddy and like he got all of us. I didn't join in on this because I'm like, I don't need a fucking popcorn machine. But he literally got like there were like 4 or 5 guys who went in and they bought like 5, 6 fucking popcorn machines each. Went to the cash, and the cashier's like, okay, you know, scanning is like, oh, wrong price. You got to give it to us for free. And the manager's seeing this going down, and he starts losing his shit. He's like, no, fuck it. Like, no, like you get. And they fought it, and they got away with like fucking 20 popcorn machines for free. Like,
Yo, it's such a wild story. I don't know what you want to do with them, but like, run it.
And no, but it's like situations like this make me upset with humanity a bit, you know, because it's like, look, there's an honest mistake. There's a difference between being, you know, what's it called? Like getting compensation for it versus taking advantage of a situation. And I find a lot of people now always head towards that second route. Like, how can I squeeze this to the very last fucking drop? You know, and we see this a lot in sales industries, like how they deal with clients, employers, how they deal with employees. You know, there's a reason why we have the fucking CNESST, you know, protecting us and shit, because you know, everyone tries to like drive everything to the limit and like make it dry. There's no balance. It's just let's use, let's take, let's. Oh yeah, they fucked up. Let's fucking give it to them. It's like the business fucked up. They're losing money, and you're just gonna make them lose more money on purpose. Like, come on, don't be an asshole. Like that's, I don't know. That's my life motto. Just don't be an asshole. Like the world would be a better place.
Yeah, that's a big one. Like, I'm not gonna pretend like I haven't been that person that's really happy to squeeze the situation, because
we were all teenagers once.
Not even. I'm talking adults. Like, if I wasn't doing as well as I am now, like, I'm doing okay. Mm-hmm. I'm from a position of I'm doing okay with clear plans in my future and shit. It's like, yeah, okay, I don't feel the need to go out there and take.
Exactly.
But that isn't a forever thing. That was like, yo, most of my life it came from a different vibe where it was more victimized survival shit, where it's like, yo, if you left $10 on that table and nobody's seeing shit, you lost your $10. I've definitely been that person a couple of times even.
So the thing that you have to watch out for, and anybody listening, you're always being tested.
To be clear, I'm not that person anymore. That was just a long time ago.
But that $10 thing is a good point. You might be being tested, and you might not know you're being tested. And this is the reality of the world. I have friends who specifically will like set people up in like situations where they can like take that $10 off the table just to like test the friendship, see how much I can trust them. I remember back in the day there was a Tangerine, like you sign somebody up for the account, they put $100 in and they get you know, everybody gets $100, hooray, we all win, right? So you can remember that.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I couldn't get people to sign up, so less amazing.
So the thing is that you have poor people, right? People who really need this money, and they don't have that first $100 to put in the account. So I have a friend who literally went and like gave these people $100 to put in the account, so they both get $50, whatever, and see if they pay him back. Because the loss for you to do that is $50. Now, if you have like 20 grand in your account, you're good. Whatever, $50 is a good way to test the friendship, you know, and. Like, and he's like, well, just give him $100, Rene. And I'm like, I'm not going to fucking do that. He's like, why not? I'm like, well, if they don't pay me back, he's like, well, it's a cheap way to know if you can trust the person or not. You know, it's like, oh shit. Like, yo.
Somebody actually gave me $100 when I opened my Tangerine account because I didn't have the Hundo already. And then I gave it back because I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, what, you know?
Exactly. And like what? And you get to see people like what they're gonna fuck you over for $100. Like, what kind of friend is it? Like, what kind of person is this? Like,
you know, the kind of person.
You need $100.
The answer is desperate.
I'll give it to you.
But yo,
if you're desperate, talk to me. I'll give you a fucking $100.
The truth is like, because I can say again, I used to be down that vibe. I've been that person who used to hit up all the DMs and I taxed out everybody I could borrow because I wanted weed. I'm not gonna even fucking lie. If I did not have weed, and it was like 2 days before a paycheck, I found $50 every paycheck to get that next sevens. Man, remember
But
those?
that's I see that in finance a lot, a lot. Like that I'll do anything for this, you know? And people treat their houses like that. And that's why houses are like, if you have nothing else, the house will save you, because
Right.
you will do anything to fucking keep that house, you know? You'll fucking like grind and just like, I need that house. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm gonna do everything for it. Everything. And that thought process is dangerous, because the reality is,
Well,
did you need the weed in the first place? I know from your point of view in that moment in time.
nah, straight drug addict shit. Like, what am I gonna
Yeah,
say?
yeah.
Like, what can But that's the thing, is I have like an addictive personality. Over the years, as I got older, I understood it better and blah blah blah. Control yourself, grow, maturity. But arguably, a large percentage of people probably be dealing with something like that.
Of course.
And
And that is the biggest thing that I notice. Most people, like 99% of people, are dealing with shit. Like big shit. Like shit they're actively ignoring. Like constantly, like, I'm not dealing with this. And I was one of those people too. Like, my parents weren't around. I was fucking around, like we used to break into like random chalets, like on islands, and just like crash there and fucking whatever. Like we just whatever. We weren't watching.
hold on, that's
We
like
would do
like
stupid
in
shit.
movies and shit. Like you see people do that shit. That's a thing people do.
So I lived by a lake, right? And on this lake, there was like, I think 10 islands, and I think there was one, two, three. There was like 5 houses. There was this one tiny house, like way at the end, near near one of my buddies, and we never saw anybody go there, because we would keep an eye on the lake. Where their boats, who's going to where, because we were kids, we were always there all the time. And so I remember this one time, we had some weed, we had some food, we had some like soft drinks and shit. And we're like, all right. So we walked on the ice, like across the lake to the island in the middle of winter. We get there, get in the chalet, light a fire, whatever, take the weed out. Nobody has papes. And we're like, oh fuck, like what are we gonna do? And we fucking MacGyvered a bong out of like a PVC pipe, a coffee can, like, and some aluminum foil. Like, it was stupid as fuck. It hardly worked, but like whatever. We got high and tasted like coffee. But we all do stupid things, but we're young. We like exploring, we test shit. But I remember once, two of anyways, yeah, we did stupid shit. Let's not go down that story.
I'm like,
That's,
because some
pull
of
out
the
some
stories is
lawsuits
cool.
here.
I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm not really that into like the full confession shit, but I'm also like, he's literally describing shit I see in movies. I didn't know that was like a real thing people did. Cause
Yeah.
where I'm at, you're not breaking into. Well, okay, y'all might have, but where I'm at in my life, nobody was breaking into nobody's houses, so I never did that shit. Then
Well,
again,
because people are
I never
there.
did the abandoned building thing either, and I know a lot of people did, and I kind of like wish I was brave enough to break into abandoned buildings and see cool shit, but I'm just not that brave, I think.
But like, here's the thing, cool shit. Like, abandoned houses is because we were young and like we had nowhere to go, and it's like winter. And back in those days, it's like -30 all the time. Like, everyone's saying winter's harsh now. It's like, fuck, it was cold back then. It was like a lot. It was like 5 degrees colder than now. So our parents are home. Where are we gonna go to like do shit? Like, I think at some points we were building like fucking igloos or like whatever, just to chill somewhere to get out of the cold.
Hold up, that's wild. Y'all know how to build igloos?
Wow, we didn't build an actual igloo, but like we would make a makeshift garbage white man's igloo.
Fair, I respect that. So like, as far as your like financial career, you did restaurant shit, you did some other stuff. When do you like actually get into the more of the financial industry?
So my career path was interesting because I only realized what type of impact I wanted to make on the world when I was like 25. I think that's when I was like, I want to make a difference. you know, because, and I think that only hit me because I knew how to make money. I was lucky enough to work for this company that like paid me like 80K a year. I was like 25. When you're 25 and you have 80K a year, and this is 10 years ago, and like it was a lot of money. And I was vacations every 3 months, traveling here, hotels every week, like every weekend, hotels, food, spa, everything. And then when I left that job, like life was just so empty. It was just like I made all this money, I had nothing to show for it. Like for what? So I just like realized I lived like in the moment for like a 5-year period of my life, and I didn't advance anywhere or do anything. So I started trying to like find meaning. Like what can I do to give back to this world? Like I used to be very nihilistic. Like there was no point to anything. Didn't give a shit. Like fucking let the world burn. Who cares? People are sick. Whatever. Like I didn't care. I didn't care because I was like, nah, life is pointless. Like we're all just gonna die. I work all this time and I'm just gonna fucking have nothing. Like, who cares? So I wanted to help people, but back then I didn't know what that meant. So I went and worked for a gym for a bit, and then I saw like, people getting healthy. Like I like motivating people to go to the gym. I was selling gym memberships. That's what I was doing. But in my head, I was like helping these people get onto the track of like health. It's like, and then after that, I went B2B. That opened my life to like a whole other like world of what you can do in the world. And I'm like, shit, I can serve businesses. Let's do it. There's always like sales garbage. Like I'm just providing some selling thing to somebody else. I'm like, fuck. Then what happened? Then I landed into car sales. Car sales I liked. I really enjoyed that, because people are looking for something to make their life better. It's like there was like a little finesse to it. It's like, my car now is shit. I need to change it. I'm bored. Like I need to validate myself with this item because my life isn't enough right now. That's basically what I was getting. And I helped a lot of people, but the problem there that happened is there was a new manager that came in, a new GM, and he didn't like me. And he wanted to set an example to the other salespeople. So, even though my sales were okay, I wasn't like shit. Yeah, I was going through like a whatever month, but like he just like threw me out. And then again, I was like left with nothing. Like all these referrals I've been building up, these networks of people to like see me as like a car guy and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. Like literally, like after that, I took, I think 2 or 3 months, I think it was 2 months of just like staying home and like thinking like, what the fuck do I want in my life? Because I don't want to like build this career to then, like it's happened to me in the past before. Like, I was working in a restaurant closed. We all know businesses close, and we all know things can just like disappear. So I'm like, how can I build something that's going to be sustainable? So I literally just chilled for like 3 months. And then I got a random job opportunity that's like, come and do some B2B and this and that. And like, it'll be easy. And I'm like, okay. While I was there, I got one of my friends who I used to work with when I first touched finance, because I did finance for one of those like MLM garbage companies for like 1 year. And I met a guy there though. I met somebody there. And after not being in the industry for 5-6 years, I wasn't looking at my own finances at all. Like I was just like, they're just like products that are sitting there. And he called me up and he's like, yo, who's taking care of your money now? And I'm like, no one. Do you want to? He's like, yeah. So we met, we talked, whatever, gave him my stuff. I was working at this lighting company doing B2B, and we became friends, And then he started this class, and he calls me up and he's like, Rene, I have a financial education class. You want to come and like just give me some support, whatever, just check it out. And I'm like, okay. I show up. He's up there like it's like, there was like 20 people in the room. He's up there just talking about how a fucking, like how to make your budget. Like, okay, so you have your rent, you have these expenses, you have like literally like that simple. And people, and and like I just saw that he was like it was stupid, like light information, but it's information nobody pays attention to. Nobody thinks of like making their budget. Not many people, like we all have an idea of how to make a budget, but nobody actually does it because we just like live our life. And so after the class, I went to him and I'm like, yo, how can I give those classes? You know, like how, and it was a turning point in my life. And I'm like, this is the difference I'm going to make. I came from a poor family, without, you know, parents that were able to like guide me properly. And like everything just like clicked. And I'm like, I want to help people. I want to fucking teach people how to like manage their money so they don't end up like, oh my God, like I don't have money and I'm going to grind for this $50 like weed. And that's like all I have, you know? So it was just an eye opener for me that like you can actually do things nowadays that actually make somewhat of a difference. And it doesn't, and yeah, like the classes for us from a business perspective, it's a loss. It's like straight up like, you know, it's not like a total loss, but it's like, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of organization. It's like you making training YouTube videos or something. You know, you're putting like a lot of effort into
it's
this.
totally not a loss. But I digress. That's a whole other.
Yeah. So well, it's not a loss because what I found out is that by doing these things, people need this shit, and literally no one's there helping them. So they're just like, hey, this thing you just talked about, could you do that? Like, could you help me get like, you know, these things? It's like, yeah, sure, here. like that's my whole sales process now. It's
But
just like whatever.
even beyond that, like I think the education world is about to go in a vastly different direction because nobody give a fuck about a degree no more. It's super weird. I think
Yeah.
most of us bypassed. Oh, okay, not most. A lot of us found ways to bypass degrees. And now there's
Mm-hmm.
just so many things there. Like, there's not a degree you can take to replicate the weird ass business model I'm trying to create in my head to combine all of the art and business adventure. Because it's just like, yo, it's the third in Web3, I think they're calling it, and this shit's wild.
Okay.
So Web3,
What's Web3
the
now?
whole
Like what?
metaverse extension,
Okay.
the NFTs, the all of this shit. Now, arguably, NFTs in its current manifestation, whatevs, it's weird. But obviously, the technology is going to go somewhere and do something, and it's going to change things.
uh, Commerce, the future of commerce, I find is going to be very interesting. I don't know if it's going to pick up now. I feel like there's a lot of VR upgrades that have to be done before people can fully adopt it. But
Yeah, for sure.
if we can replace the internet, like typing and whatever, to just like, hey, I'm going into something virtual, it's next level. And I remember your video of you walking around in like, you know, the VR, like
Yeah.
VR land. It's fucking cool, man.
It's totally, because here's the thing, like low key, I had a meeting with people I can't mention about like throwing an event in VR because like there's no overhead.
Def,
And that's the
def,
thing that
and
people like, okay, because people like everybody likes stuff, but when it comes to like the actual logistics, sometimes it's like cool ideas tend to die sometimes because they're really hype and there's a lot of investor money behind it. But then when we all realize that it's never going to be as financially viable as anyone wants, you watch a lot of things scale down and become sustainable. And VR helps avoid some of that shit by a lot of ways. It creates just like, look, I'm not trying to be like the guy that's gonna be like his VR is the future of everything and anything, and it's gonna replace real life because it's not. It's gonna be like now the people who play Call of Duty all day might play VR all day, and the people that go out and get fucked up are still gonna go out and get fucked up. Like it's the
yeah.
future's the same.
Well, because it's a matter of the issue I see with VR is convenience, right? How can you just log in anywhere, right? And that's the limitation. You actually have to do an extra step to get in
But
there.
it's also
Yeah.
like you already have to like fucking zoom and shit.
Yeah.
You have to be that kind of person already. Like, yo, it's not gonna be, like it'll be like you go to work and do it in some cases. You know, be like these weird mainstream applications. But I don't really see this future where everybody's tapped in like Ready Player One and this other bullshit. I
Nah.
And do I think some people will be? Yeah, but those people
Well,
already are sitting in front of their computer
exactly,
12 hours a day.
exactly.
And
So
so,
after before, what is it? Before or after Ready Player One, there was I forget, it was this documentary, an article, and it's about Second Life.
I love
Like
Second
this
Life as a
whole.
concept. Yeah.
Okay, so
No, describe
no,
it
it's
still.
not a concept though.
No, it's not a
It's like a
concept.
whole.
Well, okay, it is, but it's not. Describe what you were going to say.
No, Second Life is an actual like online world that like people go and like fucking just live. They like
Yeah.
they like go and live. They like date.
Second
They
Life
like
is the metaverse.
yes, yes.
But when I say as a concept, I mean that it is Second Life is the like example of a
Mm-hmm.
concept because it used to be Habbo Hotel, arguably. You could even
What's Habba Hotel like?
okay. So
I didn't play this stuff.
when I'm like let's say 14, 15, being hella loser, not getting girls and shit. I am the depressed, lonely person that everyone is afraid of getting addicted to VR. And so I discover Habbo Hotel. And what Habbo Hotel did is these little avatars that look corny as fuck. You get a room and you go and hang out in other rooms and you chat with people and you just make friends in Habbo Hotel.
So this is where I see VR like
And
making
honestly,
things better.
it's just Second Life, but way shittier. And
Yeah.
VR in the way it's manifesting is just Second Life with shittier graphics, but soon it'll be good graphics. And then, because like, look, we're actually looking into the logistics of it. Like my man Chris Chrome and actually our mutual friend Aurora are like they're looking into the logistics of how to create custom avatars, how to import them into these spaces and shit. And like, there's a lot of cool stuff in there, but it's really
Big
just
money in that.
it's
Big money.
it's because fungible tokens, for the record, are hella valuable. I know people are wild. You can copy that thing, but yo, look at Fortnite. Motherfuckers be paying hella cash for fungible tokens day in day out. Look at Call of Duty, CS:GO skins, and I think that's Call of Duty. No, that's Counter Strike. Whatever, the
Yeah.
skins and shit. That's all fungible
But every
shit.
game is like that.
They're all
Yeah,
fungible.
Exactly.
Everybody
Yeah.
be like wildly like non-fungible. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna get into the fungible token market and make a fuck ton of money on $2 purchases.
The problem is the fungible token market is it's proprietary, right? It's just like Windows is open source and things like you have to create the program that matches somebody else's program.
You need to create
whereas NFTs.
Well, actually, it's more of an asset thing. It's more like you got to create graphic design services that provide a person a file that can be imported into it. So it's really more like that. So it's not that different than a logo or anything. It's so. I actually see the.
But look how much money a lot of graphic designers are making now. It's like here's the thing: giving value to those things, it doesn't work unless there's a system, just like the metaverse, and like there's gonna be a lot of like small time graphic designers and people who are like connected to social media who are gonna get to take advantage of this.
I mean, arguably, in every field, most people are trash. And look, I don't want to talk shit about graphic designers, but if you were to do like a competitive analysis of the number of designers that hit me up, the amount of monies that they charge and shit, like most graphic designers are in their first 2 years, and you can tell. At least the ones I get hit up on. So like
you can tell by the pitch.
And
I've seen you on LinkedIn.
Versus like professionally, I get to work with career graphic designers and the ones who have salaries and shit, and they don't do freelance work no more. And it's like
so here's the thing, Holden. We're talking about people having to before needing experience and things like that. So how do people who are zero graphic designers, new to the business and stuff like that, how do they step up?
Mentorship,
practice,
bro.
Right?
You go find the elder. That's the mistake motherfuckers be making. Go find an older homeboy graphic designer, buy that motherfucker a coffee, smoke some blunts with him, and have him teach you a bunch of shit. Watch, it's gonna be simple.
Having a mentor has got to be the reason for most of my success. I don't know if Mark's listening or not, but this guy, man, he literally changed my life. Like he took me, who was like this broken, nihilistic, fucked up guy who didn't believe in nothing, and was like, Rene, you have value. Just do this. And it's like, oh shit, like I can actually make a difference. And all of my freakouts now and then about like how the world is turning and how it's like pointless, but
I'm with you, man.
It's important to have somebody that sets you back on track and is like, look, I know you're freaking out about this, but how important is this thing that you're freaking out about?
Facts.
Just question it.
Like, I got my boss at work last 5 years. He is arguably the best politician I've ever seen because he's got like a little snarky, but yo, he smiles perfect and he's a customer service expert. So he knows how to do it and he does it corporate. Like he moving up type things. And so he helped a lot. Like, cause yo, sometimes it's not skill, it's politics and emotions and like
A lot of
expectation management. And so it's like my boss had to listen to me whine and rant and this isn't fair. And then at the end of the day, I had to learn that you can't fight gravity. And once you learn that you can't fight gravity,
really,
yeah, it's a big lesson. It's a good metaphor that somebody threw in my face one time. Don't fight gravity, because people fight gravity all the time. And even myself, you, whatever stubborn ass bullshit where you know you're fighting literally forces as powerful as gravity. Like me trying to tell people that VR is going to make them a shit ton of money today is ridiculous. Me saying if you get into it now and acquire the knowledge and you're highly interested, you'll be in the 5% of people that make hella cash because you are the specialist then. Okay, there's something there. But like you can't just make things cool. You can't just like change habits. Like you kind of have to adapt everything you do to fit the world a little bit. So fighting gravity is when you're just like, fuck everyone else, I'm right, you're wrong, shit. Like it's just.
But not just that. Even like I meet a lot of people, and a lot of people, you know, and especially from this pandemic, and this is what I saw the most. A lot of people just kind of threw in the towel, and it's like, you know what, this is too hard. It's not what I want. I'm fuck it, you know, and they kind of like let go. And I'm like, you know, you still have to live, and like to live you need to do things. So whatever it is that you need to do in order to go out there and do those things that you need to do in order to get the life, not even the life that you want, even if you don't want anything, just to like survive, like you have to, or else the other choice is death, right? We see it in nature. If you're not moving, you're stagnant. Stagnant's full of bacteria. It's dead water. It's useless.
Nah, I agree with that. My thoughts on a pandemic is it's going to be a test in a sense, because I feel like we're never going back to this imaginary old world that everyone wants. It's now going to become this fictionalized future that people are nostalgically craving. And it's like,
but what are people craving about? Like what? To just be able to walk around in a mall like normal? I'm sorry,
it's all cultural shit. Honestly, I think it's deeper than
like
that. Like, because you gotta understand, I've been counter that culture for fucking ever. So COVID was like the best thing in my life. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
And yet during COVID, you were going to like what was it, Gerard Park to like set up like
bro, I did so much shit,
like,
bro. I found
like
many opportunities to like make COVID like my bitch in a sense and make my life. My entire life is set for the rest of my life because COVID got so many things to line up with what I was hoping for. It was like, bro, 2019 was me going, yo, work from home and VR is going to be the coolest shit ever. And everybody's like, we can't do work from home, sir. It's not a possibility. VR? Preposterous. Nobody wants that. And that was my 2019. And then, holy shit, here we are in 2022. And people be like, yo, Holden's the VR guy. And I'm like, oh, say word.
The thing with work from home, you are the VR guy. I see you. You definitely introduced me to like this whole like world that like I stopped looking because it's just I'm an old guy now. Like I don't know what the fuck's going on with
I just love Star Trek, bro. The truth is, I grew up on Star Trek and I saw the holodeck when I'm like 7 and it's over. If I can have a holodeck before I die, I will literally do everything in my power to make the holodeck experience something I get to experience before I die. And I don't really care about the ramifications of everything else if there can be a holodeck.
Well, okay, hold on. Well, here's a quick solution to that. You know, you just make a holodeck in the metaverse and you just go in with VR and you have a holodeck.
Nah, it's not fully it, bro. It's still got to get there. But that's the next point. That is the next step towards the holodeck. So to me, it's just like giving me what I want.
Well, it's different technologies. I don't think it's like really the next step, but yeah, the holodeck I think is more like, of a screen replacement, and I don't know if it's
complete AR immersiveness. It's not gonna be cost efficient, but like a holodeck would be you in a room, and everything around you's happening, and you're just involved in like the video game, and you're in the room.
Yeah,
That shit, bro. I fucking, you don't understand. Like my whole life since I'm like young, that's the thing I desire the most in terms of entertainment
but
experiences, and it's
I
gonna
hope it
happen
happens to
probably
you. It's
after I
just
die.
like if you learn about like light and how light works and things like that, what would be required to basically like I don't know. I haven't looked into it in a while, but I'm assuming they'd have to like bounce lasers off each other. But if you're standing in there, that means you're getting laser in the eye. So protective eyewear is going to be
I'm
necessary.
cool with that,
Number one.
bro. I wear glasses.
Like,
I'm good with that. Yo,
I don't know.
I don't care about they'll figure it out, and I know that it's preposterous, but
But
I'm on
it's
team
like
metaverse.
teleportation, you know.
I'm
It's
into
like
it.
I've
I would
always
love to
I always
teleport.
feel I feel teleportation would solve all the world's problems. Everything, like food, like consumers, like every. Because if we could just go into like walk into a wall and just end up with all our friends, like we wouldn't give a shit about buying things anymore. We just want to go places, you know. But I don't think teleportation is actually a feasible thing physically, you know. And I think holograms might fall into that too.
No,
Like I don't
AR tech is
know.
pretty ridiculous, bro. I've actually seen some shit Microsoft developing where like you put these it's called the HoloLens, I believe. I might be wrong. It's a Holo something. It's not the Xbox Connect, but whatever. It's the shit, and it's just like the game extends out past your TV and shit, bro. It's fucking fire. They're actually really
Okay, I got to look into
okay.
that.
Check it, just in the sense of control.
Post a link on this video.
Yeah, man, I'll have to find that shit after.
Do it for your viewers, Holden. You're supposed to be prepared.
Bonnie, if you remember this shit, remind me after. But yo, like we were in the hip hop museum in the Bronx in November when we were there, and there was this crazy technology they were fucking with. It's sound, so it's not lasers, but it's very similar in control because they're actually similar shits, right? If you stood like here, you heard the sound, and if you walked a foot over here, you did not hear the sound. And I was like it wasn't like next level quality, but it like worked as designed, bro. It was like an invisible barrier, and if you walked into it, you heard the sound, and you could.
Yeah.
It was. So I think they're gonna.
You can do that with sound. It's just with light.
I'm sure they have ways.
Light
to, like,
needs something to reflect off, man. Like sound. Did you do social sciences or like pure and applied or?
I did social sciences with psychology, but I also did a year of sciences before it, and I do understand what you're saying about light because I like those games where you have to make the light bounce.
No, but like sound waves, you can like create like sound waves that like here it's double volume, and here it's like nothing, and here it's like regular, and like you can do that with sound waves. Light does it too, but in order for us to see, like the problem's our eyes. That's the issue. We don't see light waves.
If all I gotta do is wear some goggles and it's a holodeck, it's a fair consolation, my guy.
Well, yeah, isn't that what the Google Glass was aiming at? Like this I feel is technology that's like 10 years old. I don't know.
I mean, I think, yeah, it is what the Google Glass was aiming for, but it's Google and it's creepy and it's kind of not exactly it. No, I mean, like, think about the practical applications of the Google Glass, right? Like, there is limits to this. Like, I'm not really going for the free reign of anything. I want like video game consoles that are next level dope in controlled environments. Like, listen, I'm okay with the fucking PS Network being creepy. Everybody in the PS Network's there to play video games and shit. Like, it is what it is. But like once you're out on the street, right? The real threat is because I'm like fair is like, yo, imagine you could Facebook search people through photos and you're just like in the bar with there's a lot of bad that can come with that, which is why I'm glad they kind of deaded Google Lens as is because I don't think we're societally prepared to manage the privacy concerns and mature enough to even deal with that shit as a culture.
Well, that goes to what we were talking about before with people, right? That $10 left on the table, how long will it stay there? And you see these things online all the time. These guys like, doing, a guy like walks away and like drops his wallet or something just to see people's reactions.
Yeah.
No, it's a thing.
I mean, no,
It's a
those
trend. It was a
bro, those
trending thing for a
videos. The
while.
only problem with those videos is arguably 80 to 90% of them are staged, but they're meant to exemplify things, but like they're not
Hold
authentic.
on, staged. Holden, let's do it in Gerward Park, man. We'll just drop a fake
Nah, B.
wall and see what happens. Like I don't know. I've seen things like
I'm not saying that those videos aren't reflections of what would really happen, and arguably they are reflections of the variety you would get. But every one of those videos that I've seen feels staged and pointed and like politicized. Yo, bro, like I've been watching fake breakup videos for some reason, or fake I
oh
got
no,
caught
those are
cheating.
garbage. The new stuff.
So
This is
it's like,
I find there's a problem
but
with
then like, and I'm
with
saying because it's guys like Joey Salads and the originators, they would go on podcasts like H3H3 and talk about how fake the industry is, right? So it's like,
yeah.
you
But
know,
no, because I saw like you can see when they're real or not, and that's the quality of the video itself. What I've found out, what I've my hypothesis on the internets of things, because I'm not huge internet, is when the thing is shit quality and it's like from far and like you have like a scratchy mic and stuff like that shit's usually real. Like that's usually like raw deal because everyone can see a fucking cameraman with like, a 30 megapixel freaking like video cam. Like nobody's stupid enough to not notice that.
well, if you're in a
But
place like LA though, that's the thing. It's you're right, but then a lot of these are always in the same cities. They're always in the places where it's actually not weird to see a guy walking around with a camera like that. You don't see this shit in Iowa. You don't see this
but
shit
I
in
hate
you don't see this
but
shit
I
in like
yeah,
places where it would be kind of fucking weird and abstract to see a guy walking around with a camera like that. It's always densely
you
populated
know what?
urban areas.
You're probably right, and I hate these fucking fake ass like setup videos.
And I'm
I
not
think
saying all of
when I
them.
first
I want
noticed
to leave
them,
a good 5% room for that's probably something that happened, and 95% of them, in my perception, are fake.
yeah. Well, I don't know. The gold digger videos are all pretty much fake. Like those
Come
those
on,
were good
man.
ones.
Who the
I
fuck
was like,
rents
who
it?
the fuck believes this shit? Like,
It's all kids, actually. It's wild because it's like, well, if you really want to go there, it's young people. If you're like 12, like, you're not going to have often the skills to discern that this is fake. And if you're 12, you're still on social media. And like, a lot of these
that's fucked.
people, because, I like to watch YouTube, the guy version of tea spilling videos on YouTube, okay? The video essay takedowns. I dug into everything about all the tea this guy spilled, and I'm gonna tell you all about it videos. And like, a lot of these people, like, they know their fan base is 10 years old and they be like wildly like out there doing a lot of shit. And you watch it and you're like, this is preposterously bad content. Who could believe? And it's like 10-year-olds, bro. It's actually just 10-year-olds. It's like fucking really weird, actually. There's so much of
Fuck,
this
what
stuff.
happened to PBS, man, and like Sesame Street and shit? Like, this is another thing with the internet. The internet fucked us all. Like, I'm sorry, but like when I was 10 years old, man, I'd be watching fucking Scooby Doo and like Sesame Street and like I don't know, like yeah, they were mildly racist sometimes, but that's the life we lived in back then. These were American shows.
I
Uh,
mean, I think publicly funded everything got weird over time. Cause like, a lot of that shit, like a lot of Canadian, like let's get Canadian television. A lot of it is tax funded, you know. So it's like, we as a people have to want to prioritize that shit to make it a thing that's dope. However,
yeah,
shout out to
I
our
don't know. Mr.
government.
Dress Up was
Just want to
pretty dope.
our government's actually pretty cool about upping the amount of investment they're putting into grants and shit. And like our grant program for artists is pretty lit. So let's just give Canada props where it's due. It does do a little bit to stimulate the artist economy. Like shout out Canada and Quebec.
Yeah.
Quebec's like that too.
Here's one thing: like, there's a lot of artists out there, right? Why doesn't anybody focus on the children? Why doesn't anybody care about the children?
A
Like I
bunch of
want to
people
see
do
like
though.
I want
No,
to see good kids show. Like fuck,
well, I
I
think a
don't know.
lot of people do. Like, but it's just like, here's an example. I was talking to this rapper on Wednesday, and he's from New York. Fuck his name. I'm blanking on his Randy Mason, and Randy Mason is involved in this program he created, very similar to what you're doing. Only it's to teach kids to express themselves via hip hop and the core of hip hop, and to give them this extra outlet in life. And He just develops courses and he like goes to schools and shit. And so
That's pretty cool.
there's actually this crazy culture of hip hop education that is highly slept on and ignored. Why? Because who the fuck want to listen to education rap for kids when you're a grown up being a grown up? And I'm not like saying go out there and bump it all, but like arguably it's kind of like a big thing that nobody cares about, but it's growing and it gains momentum. And it's not just hip hop; it's like all these after school programs and shit. So usually it's like these people are just on the ground. Actually, that's why we never hear
True.
about it.
And this is the thing that and that's a good point that you brought up. I'm not connected to much of media. I don't know what's going on in the world today. Like, besides some, random financial stuff, I'm so disconnected with like everything. Where was I going with this?
Kids on the people
I'm
on the
disconnected with
ground doing
myself
charity work and
Yeah,
changing
that's it.
hip
There's a
hop
lot
and
of,
things like that you don't see.
like I'm working with a company that actively tries to help people. And I know other professionals who are actively trying to help people and like make that difference, but we don't hear about them. Why? Well, I'm not a social media expert. I'm not gonna fucking make videos off every time I get a person to like save $10. Like there's privacy issues and shit like that also. So a lot of the things in my work is confidential.
Actually, I'd argue
So
that
it's like,
that's part of the problem is that a lot of people who do really good work feel that bragging about good work is really bad. So
no, it's not. It's not about feeling. Look, I'll talk about my classes
no,
all the time.
but like
But
people get weird about social media promotion of good shit. I'm not. I do a bunch of good shit nobody ever gonna hear about. It's weird to go brag about it, but the other part is that I think some people take it to such an extreme they don't really want to be on social media for XYZ reason. And honestly, I find a lot of good people down to the ground, fucking running their shit, are often the types that be like fucking social media a little bit because they're probably really busy doing a bunch of shit and it seems like this extra stress, and I use the word seems deliberately, like an extra stress and layer of blah blah blah. But arguably it's like if sometimes some of those people were to focus more on like letting the world know they exist, it could really create that like snowball effect of cool trends. And that's kind of
well,
the hard part I have with it. It's like I hear everyone, but like the evil people be winning like this. The good people got to fight in a battle arena that can compete.
yeah, no, this is true. This is true.
And
And then, so a couple of things with that. Look, time, right? Time. Time is a fucking thing. Like we don't. I was talking about it earlier. 24 hours is a lot, but it's also not a lot. And it depends what day it is. It depends what you got to do. And then there's energy levels that fly into that as well. I'm a guy who has like a lot of energy. I'm overwhelming a lot of times for people, but like I keep myself busy because I have a lot of energy. I'm always doing shit. It's like, oh, I have like an hour here. Let's go do Uber Eats. Oh, I got some time here. Let's research this. Every morning for like 2 hours, I'm reading like articles and just like figuring out what the hell's going on and try to make things better. I think and try to like solve problems. It's like to go in social media and just like be like, hey, guy, like I don't even know what the fuck to say. I don't know what to start with.
see, that's where you holler at a guy like me. Because the truth is, that's something I really look. I see it like a lot of people who fear going on social media constantly look at it from the perspective of a consumer, and they know people who do social media, but they often don't know people who do social media professionally, which is a wildly different experience where if you do your shit right, it's like 2-3 hours a week, you good.
I'd be down to learn about how much does that cost. Well, see, there's the
No,
thing. Now we're running into like
half the
costs.
schedulers are free. It's time, and okay, it will cost you a new phone, bro. I told you, it's just a new phone.
No, how much would it cost me to sit down with a guy like you to fucking
I
understand
mean, I'd
what I
do
need
it
to
for
do?
like free, but in
Like,
real life, like it would cost money, like inevitably.
yeah,
But
that's
like,
that's the
I'd
reality.
holler
Because
at you
I've
and be
heard
like,
of.
bro, just get on that shit and break it down for the fun of it, because I really get off on that. But I can give you the short version right now, because fuck it. But like, it's all about content planning, and there's a whole bunch of courses you could take. But the fucking short version of it is you have to plan 3 months in advance if you're doing it real good so that you know about upcoming shit. You have to know how long it takes you to do everything. And then it's just basic project management. You find a scheduling tool. And now as far as what you post about, that's largely based to things like goals and your missions. So if you want to teach the world, bro, teach the fucking world. You need inspiration, bro. Half of us do shit like read the news, get inspired, and do a little 1 minute rant. Some of the TikToks I make, and I don't think they're gonna go viral yet, but honestly, some of the A to Z, it's like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like it's more like when you feeling impassioned and shit, you optimize those moments,
Well,
and then
I've been doing that a little bit.
all of
Like
a
I get
sudden
you.
you have your targets. You know, I need this many posts. Then you do the posts that are really boring and you don't need passion for in a scheduled capacity. And then you flood the rest and you just stockpile. Like it's recommended to have almost 30 TikToks in your drafts before you start posting, because then you don't run out. Then you don't feel that same
Wow.
pressure. Then you're constantly stockpiling content. And that's the thing about content is like, yo, when you start a show, you need to have honestly, a TikTok's a show for the purpose it is, but like you need to know what like a year of it kind of looks like. So all of my shows are super recurring. I know that I can do this exact format with every guest, and the only real logistical detail is a guest. I never have to recreate the show. So in TikTok land, you come up with your genres of TikToks. You're going to be like, I do this kind, this kind, this kind, this kind. Same thing with Reels, same thing with everything. And then you just
Yeah.
define it. How do you figure out which ones you want to make? Basic ass market research.
So, a couple of things in my business. I'm one guy, right? And here's where I'm on the fence with social media, because I feel like, yeah, I could create this huge business that gets a bunch of people flooding towards me. That would be a problem because I'm one guy, right? I don't have like a team of minions that I can just like send work to. Now, if I had it like some people who I can like, just hand off work to, that's a different story. But like
it's
if I get 500 clients tomorrow, it's a major fucking
That's a
problem.
happy
Especially
problem,
like,
bro. That's what we call a
yeah,
happy
no,
person problem.
Yes, but let's say, look, I like serving people. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
No, what I'm trying to
I
say
have
here
500
is,
people floating.
I'm sorry, but you just have enough money to hire your boys to help you out. Like, it is what it is. You're good. You got that money coming, and they know it. On the other hand, social media has allowed me to attract the people you're looking for, and you've seen my struggle with this. We have complained. You've heard me in the DMs.
Yeah,
I
I've
stopped.
heard you.
I mean, look at just the relationship and partnership I fostered between Chris Crum and Aurora to figure out VR shit. If you can be public enough, long enough to build trust and collect information, you will find what you're looking for in that regard. Plus, you have to ask for it. A lot of people said, how can I help you? And it took me forever to answer that question. So you have to know what you want. But fundamentally, it's basically because of my social media presence that people were able to get to know me enough to see some shit about me to decide I want to be on that team. And that's the thing that social media does. Because, half the time, like, even at the park, everybody's fucking drinking and shit. It's like, cool, but you ain't actually forming the relationships you think you're forming. Bars. I'm not really a pro-alcohol person in terms of proper networking. I've never really mixed drinking in business like that, so take that with a grain of salt. But, like, half the social environment...
You can have, like, 2 drinks, but, like, all the seriousness has to come out before that third drink hits. Like,
whereas I know
third drink is building the affinity with a person, getting comfortable. It's like you're programming your brain that this is a good person or something. It's weird.
But like the reality is for me, it's never worked out like that. So a lot of the in real life places I'm supposed to go and meet people just end up being drinking and eating, and it's like nobody really want to talk shop in these moments. So it's like been really challenging.
Hold on, that's always the case. People don't want to do things.
But social
anybody
media
wants to do anything. Arguably
Discord, now I'm part of multiple group chats. There's this weird partnership I ended up with where we don't even know each other, but there's like 6 brands that are just like, okay, fine, let's just work together, whatever that means. That's fine, cool, we're friendly. And I'm saying it because I don't want to be like hyper committal.
But you found that online.
All of it was via social media. Everything was related to being an influencer.
Because the thing is online. So it's that extra step, right? When you're doing things online, when I came to this interview, it's like I'm opening my computer. I am in this interview. I will take whatever Holden throws at me and I will react to it. And like this is the give and take.
That shit.
I'm prepared for it, right? Whereas when you're meeting somebody in person, okay, there's a whole other like field of everything there. And people, when they first meet you, they do make a decision who you are in those first 7 seconds. That's like a real thing. And if that projection that you gave in the immediate was wrong, you're gonna literally spend, like, if you don't deal with that in that moment on that day, you're literally gonna have to deal with that projection of you for the rest of your life. You know, there's no changing that unless there's like a huge defining point that they can illustrate that you're not that person.
So that's where,
like, there's so much
okay, so
behavioral
what's crazy
economics that go
about
into
that is like a lot of people like to give me advice about my personality because I can be terrible first impressions, bro. That's my entire adult
Did you
life.
take that as me giving you advice?
No, this is.
I
You
hope
said
I was
something
just
to me
talking in
recently
general.
because when I over apologized because I actually over explained some shit, and it was recently you said something to me in the DMs. It wasn't like an attack or anything, but I thought about it, and I'm like, nah, I'm just like this. In multiple places in my life, people are like, Holden, this is how you don't piss people off, and I'm like, nah, I'm not worried about that first impression because I'm a motherfucking influencer. You will just see who I am over time because I put it out to the world. And I know it's a weird statement, but on a very small scale, I influence some people. Fuck that. I'm a real deal shitty influencer of the worst capacity of success, smallest tier. But because of that, like, yo, you just see that year over year, I'm going to be this person. You don't have to like me, but at least I'm honorable.
But the thing is, when you're dealing with people in person, remember that thing, the time, how we don't have a lot of? When you're in person, there's even less because you're at that park for like, you set an amount of time. I'm going to this park for this. And if it's shitty, I'm just going to chill. I'm just going to what? You always revert to like that backup plan, you know? Well, so it's like, if I'm like, oh, I'm going to meet up with Holden in the park and like, you know, it's just a chill vibe. It's like, I'm going to get some drinks because it's Saturday and the sun's out. So yeah, we're vibing.
I mean, you know, I don't do
in person versus online is,
I find maybe I'm just really weird, but my in-person shit's often super calculated. Like, I don't hang out with people randomly, and I'm not willy-nilly. So, like, if I'm at the park, there's a reason.
Are you an introvert, Holden?
I don't know. I mean, arguably, I'm kind of extroverty, but, I mean, I don't know. Depends on the vibe. I'm not extrovert once I'm comfortable, and I'm very rarely comfortable
so hold on.
in public.
So you just said you don't go and hang out with people. Like, you don't have friends that come over and chill.
Willy-nilly. Willy-nilly. Random. It's always pre-assigned. Like, when people come over randomly, it's like it fucks my shit up. And I'm like, people sometimes now, because I'm getting more, I guess, friends and shit in life. So, yo, I'm here now. And then 4 hours goes by and I'm like, fuck. I mean, it's cool because
we got shit to do.
But you're like, fuck.
Right?
Like, so my whole life is like, bro, I have a stream that I'm doing tomorrow morning where I'm going to go over my week and like organize myself. I'm at that point because I'm just like, yo, it's so many moving pieces and shit. So it's hard for me to just look at life without purpose. Every relationship almost, and maybe this is bad and I'm trying to figure out life and not be a fucking robot about it, but like,
we're all just trying to figure out life, bro.
But for me, like, a lot of the in real life circumstances I've gone to, like a show, it's purpose. I'm there for a reason. I'm not there to just have fun. I'm never there to just have fun. It's always got this other reason to be there.
So when did that start? That thinking process?
Always. It just
this is something. Hold on.
Always that I can think of.
Back to my upbringing. Hold up. Back to my upbringing. That's something I noticed between city people and up north people.
Okay.
Up north people, country people ain't got a lot of people. So we're not overloaded with like thousands of people who live on our streets, right? So we'll take the time and be like, fuck, I haven't seen anybody in a week. I'm gonna go see this person. You know? Whereas in the city, people are constantly knocking at your door, ringing you up. Yo, let's do this. Let's do that. When I went to college in Dawson, that was like fucking changing of my life.
Just to like throw it in though, I wasn't very cool for most of my life. Not a lot of friends. Wasn't invited to a lot of shit.
You weren't?
Nah,
really?
Like super big loser kid.
I think I was cool. Like,
nah, but like
when you're in this, get out of here.
Nah, some people have like social lives, and I really didn't. Like really on like the.
Do you know how these people identify themselves when they have social lives like that?
I don't know, but
they're not a person.
Still. It changed a lot, like, yo, because I never connected with people in big parties and shit. Like, it never worked when I was, even now, like when I go to shows and shit, I'm like in a corner until I like whatever, I'll dance by myself. And if people talk to me, I'll take over the room. But if literally nobody talks to me, I'm cool to keep my mouth shut the whole night. Somebody has to like initiate that shit in my world, and then I'll fucking respond.
You were raised well.
Nah,
I think that's what they call it.
not even, not even. But like, so for me, it's like I just see
Children are to be seen and not heard, you know?
Not even. Well, I guess my dad tried that shit. I was terrible at it. But it's more like, it's more the room. I don't know how the balance works. Like when 3 or 4 people are talking, bro, I just shut the fuck up. I don't know how to really. That's why my interviews are one-on-one mostly. Because even having an extra person here, it's harder for me. I can do it now with like somebody I'm aligned with, but having 2 guests, it's a clusterfuck for me. I get really stressed about that shit.
Yeah. I've been going through that too over the past. I think that's just becoming an adult, not knowing what to say when there's more people talking and things like that. That whole self-confidence thing, because you're listening to people talking, and even when there's silence, sometimes even now I'm with some friends and we're just like chilling, like we're not saying nothing, and it's not awkward, but it is. And it's like, you're just sitting there and it's like, fuck, what could I say? And it's like, we caught up, we did everything, we're just relaxing. We're just 2 human beings in the same space, enjoying time together. And that's like literally all that defines us. I find the biggest issue with growing up is that now we're realizing like life is like whatever. It's like, I'm having this conversation to you. What does it mean? Does it have to mean? And we're always trying to fucking give meanings to everything and like value our lives because we don't want to be valueless. So we're like stuck in this like brain trap, like in ourselves, but everybody fucking goes through it. Everybody feels that way.
Yeah.
Everybody feels like they shouldn't be talking and shit. I don't know. Like, that was my little rant on that.
I kind of get where you're coming from. I just think that like we're in this situation. What's up, Scribble? Scribble just showed up in the chat, so I said what's up. But
what up, Scribble?
Yeah, Scribble's pretty dope. He's up in LA, does a bunch of like rapidy rap shit.
LA.
Oh, like real.
So we can ask him about the fake shit and the cameras everywhere. Yeah.
Yo, Scribble, is there a bunch of fake shit and cameras everywhere? Anyway, oh, yo, Scribble, are people walking around like influencers all the time? And like, do you ever see people doing like fake prank videos and stunt videos and shit? Because that came up a bit earlier and you're out there. Let us know, Scribble. That would be cool. That's right. You show up, you might get asked. Yeah, for me, he said he sees it all the time. I told you, bro. I told you. It's these cities, man. Like,
see, viewers, everybody, life is fake. It's like
no, but it's also
everything you're seeing on social media.
It's all
not
perspectives,
real.
right? So everything is about perspectives and understanding it. I feel like a lot of us in Montreal, we don't really see it like that. I mean, yo, when you actually see an influencer with a fucking camera, you're like, shit, they got money. You know, you think something like that.
No.
Or that's what I
was
think.
I went to the Imagine Monet 2 weeks ago, and there was literally an influencer chick like in the corner of the room, just fucking filming herself and like doing. And I'm like, oh fuck, what are you doing here? Like, just...
Scribble says he's seen countless
like,
people.
I just imagine like
he's seen countless people taking pics in front of cars that ain't theirs.
That's the best. Who got my new Ferrari? It's like fuck. Like, who are you impressing? Like, people live these like wild lives on the internet, and it just makes everyone else feel like they're not succeeding and missing out and whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
real.
know.
That's
I talk to real
shit.
people, and I get to see the insides of people's real lives, and most of the time, people won't share when shit's fucked up. They're not going to talk about it. They're not going to acknowledge it themselves because it's fucked up.
You know what the thing is?
They just feel trapped and they won't ask, bro.
I can't say I've met a shit ton of people who be wildly different on the internet to real life, just in general. But I have met a few of them, and it's like, y'all gotta exist in real life. That's the baffling part. Like, and then you're gonna have to hang out with a bunch of media people and rappers and shit that are also like, it's like. I'm not saying other people can't hide it and can't pull it off, and that some people don't have real versions. And like to a degree, I don't even give a fuck if you're stunting. I don't personally care. It is whatever to me. However, it's whatever you're doing it for. It's your intentions that determine that shit for me. But like, at least just like, how do you like fucking expect to pull that off once you're like in real life with everyone? That's the part that's baffling to me. And then you find out about shit and you just can't ever talk about it because then you fuck your own self over because nobody want to talk to snitches and shit. But then you're just stuck with this baffled sense of disillusionment with the fact that like you've seen at this point a lot of the behind the scenes of shit and you're like, oh wow, life is wildly like misrepresented in ways you don't do. And then I do my best to just be myself online because I'm terrible at fucking hiding it. So I just try to triple it. But even then, it's polished, it's finessed.
No,
If you meet me in real life, I'm a lot less enthusiastic sounding. I mean, I don't know. It's true. I get in trouble for
you're
that.
fine.
But like,
I don't know. I haven't found you that different. I guess you're a bit more comfortable behind the other side of the screen, but I don't know.
it's more the camera's on, so you behave different when the camera's on. And I've been criticized all year for being flat and not smiling enough, so I have to consider the fact that I'm on Twitch, and to a degree, I have to at least sound like I want to
give your wow factor to the
I have
people,
to sound like I want to be here. That's the one thing. I agree that sometimes I sound like I don't want to. Yeah, I do. Of course I do. I wouldn't do this if I didn't want to be here. But like, yo, when you do anything a million times, some days you're sitting there like in your soul and you're like, yeah. And so it's hard. It's like a hard thing to do at the pace I do it. And I'm pretty bad.
That was the hardest thing with every single. Nah, you're all right. Look, you're all right.
Nah, I mean, like, no. Arguably, I would rate myself like a C-level streamer in terms of skill because I've seen what good looks like, and I'm not there. And so I'm just being honest. I'm not like there.
Respect.
I'm like not even trying that hard to be there. I just like doing this and the overall vibe, and I think it's practical.
But you know that feeling of doing something a million times and not wanting to do it anymore? I think that's like most people's lives. And for me, before I became self-employed, like that was my life. Well, besides the super exciting, high-paying job, but you know, we just fucking settle for like mediocrity and just like hate our lives for it. And then we go and like buy shit to make us feel good, and you know, it doesn't really work for long. So then we have to buy more shit or buy something bigger, and like we try to give ourselves like these shock treatments. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no real escaping it other than just like accepting that life is a bit boring, and you know, you got to kind of like figure out how to get through to the other side.
I know.
And the other side's not death. I mean, like finding a better life.
The thing is like for me, it's about mission and purpose. I was always inspired by the great heroes of society and history, and everybody has a purpose. Like look at Joan of Arc, fucking up revolutions and shit. Look at all these different people. They have these missions. Their whole lives are dedicated to like this purpose, and they then achieve things. And for me, it's like when I started doing YouTube, even it was to do these album reviews, and arguably all I wanted was clout in the sense of views. I knew how to get the algorithm to go in my favor a little bit, and for a minute it was working, but it got weird for a second on some other shit. And then over time, though, it changed for me. And my mission evolved. I wanted to be a better artist because I was hearing this crazy amount of new music and it was impacting me and showing me what was actually out there. Then time went on and I'm like, yo, I want to do more like bigger shit. And it was like, now I have this mission that will arguably take me about 20 years, easy. So, you know, I want to write a book called The Oral History of Montreal Hip Hop. And that'll probably take me 20, 30 years. And now all of it's good. It's gravy, bro. I'm down. I'm happy with it. I love the process because once you know what you're doing and your purpose, what you're on this planet to figure out and do, everything else I'm doing is just building to that. Moves I make, it may not make sense to anybody even, but to me, it's to get there. So I can just pivot. I can just be versatile because it's like, whatever, that's what it is. And if that's what I got to do, I'll do it. I think that's what people don't get. That's what all those books say too, you know? Like when you read all the fucking business books, The Secret,
have a fucking mission. Love, have a point to your life.
Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Pick a book. They all say the same all fucking shit. But you really need to... The thing is that mission is your shit. And it could be as mundane as I want to make quilts. run that shit. Quilts is fire. I'm not shitting on quilts. If you make quilts, that's actually pretty cool. But like, if that's what you want to do, make the quilt shop or whatever. But like, people don't want legacy or something, I find, and then it makes it hard because if you're not, and this is how I perceive the world, but like, if you're not really trying to create some kind of bigger legacy, it really is hard to just be like a pleb. I know that if I die, a motherfucker's gonna take on where I left off and run that shit forward. So it's great. I put the shit in momentum. It's gonna happen because my life live on through relationships made and shit, and I feel like I can influence and impact things, and like ever since that, it's like it's over. Like even Scribble being here is wild. This dude has worked with rappers that like honestly and arguably I'm fucking jealous he's worked with. Not in a hater way, but like fuck man, it's incredible. His numbers I wish I could get. But he wants to hear me talk the shit with you. Like it's wild to me. But you start to realize that there's value in life for just being yourself. And I sucked at every time I was in everything. I can't fit into any groups, so I'm kind of just stuck on the weirdo outcast crowd, which is great because at least you can be yourself.
But isn't that a group in itself?
Yeah, but at least there's not really
isn't that a group too?
Yeah, but it's the group of like I don't fit ins, so it doesn't really have the same kind of definition.
But I'm from that group, Holden. That's why we're talking, right? Like I'm part of that group of outcasts, whatever. Like ragtag, rando people getting together and just whatever.
But arguably, there are a lot of people who want to be themselves. Like you're driven by what you feel you want to do. You do like you're driven by your purpose, and it's not my purpose.
Oh, having a mission changed my life.
Right.
Like, mission. Talking about missions, like. If you don't have a mission, those are the lost. You're literally lost. You're a lost soul, and that's what I feel religion's trying to solve, or used to try to solve in the past, and still technically is. And then you have these predatory companies that take people on and be like, join us in this mission. It's like you have to be careful, and yet you do have to have your own values and understand what those are before getting sucked into something else, because it'll mess you up and it'll change your thought patterns, and you'll live in dissonance. I remember back in the day we were hearing about these
because you said
these companies. Not going to name them.
Because you said other people's missions. I think you need your own mission, and then you can go align with other missions, right? Like I just want to make that distinction because I agree with you. Just getting caught up in other people's missions, it's kind of bad for you. It's good for that person. But if you have your own reasons to be somewhere, you're good. You won't get caught up in some bullshit as easily because you have your reasons for being there.
You won't be in a situation that you didn't want to be in.
Exactly.
And you have to see those red flags. I've worked or I've been places where I was like, I'm not cool with these things. I'm not cool with the structure, and you have to value your values and understand why. Or first ask why it is that you're feeling that way. That's number one. Because if it's past trauma from when you're a kid, you have to get over that shit. But if it's something that's by selling, I don't know, let's use I used to sell these products, man, and I made a lot of money selling these products. I used to sell these, lint rollers that lasted forever, these knives that you never need to sharpen. I was the fucking guy in the Sears, selling those fucking knives.
So for those knives,
I was remember.
So the knife people,
I was that in a store.
The scissors the knife people sell, the scissors that they sell in that basic kit is the best weed scissors I have ever used in my life. Just to give them props for that unnamed company.
They're good products. No, they're good products. Look, we used to sell a knife set for I think it was $30, and they were decent knives. They had 8 steak knives, the chef knife, and whatever.
Really sliced meat like butter.
That just washed off. Yeah.
It was really
stupid. It was so stupid.
The sales process was all awful, but actually those knives were pretty lit.
Oh no. Holden, the sales process was beautiful. It was a 7. How many was it? I think it was 5 or 7 steps specifically that you just did. It was a choreographed pitch. I managed that company for like 2 years, and we literally hired actors for this job, people with no sales experience to do this, because it's a crowd sale. It's a show. It's not a like, and the magic behind that opened my eyes to like behavioral economics and like, why people buy shit. Like, you get 10 people crowded together, like you can fucking make them do anything. It's scary. It's really scary. Like, so I understood that, and I'm like, I want out. Like, I don't want anything to do with this shit. Like, I need to get out of here. Like, I'm not here to sell fucking plastic pieces that'll just end up in the landfill. Even though the perceived value of this thing, yeah, best, scissors, whatever, it's good. But like, as humans, we just buy shit all the time that we don't need. Like, so why are you buying more scissors when you already have scissors?
Because I had those scissors because I was like 21 when I got involved with them. And I went through that. I was bad at it though. So, and then I went to return it and I couldn't. They'd left. So let's say you want it, because they said you can bring back your starter kit and get your money. That's just only going to be open for the summer, bro. Don't be like me and wait. I went all the way back to the Carry Square was where the office was at. It was on the 3rd floor. I walked all the way up and they were just gone. And I'm sitting there with my fucking shit. And I'm like, that was a $120 lesson I learned that day. On the other hand, I was left with this wonderful steak knife, these scissors and shit and whatever. And arguably, that was the best steak knife I've ever used. And those scissors were fucking as good as advertised. So I was like, not that bad.
I don't know if the company I worked for was the same as you. But like, literally, we would show up in a store, like a Zellers, a Canadian Tire, a Sears.
It might be a different one.
10 days, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We would show up there. We'd do like an announcement on the PA system. People would show up. I'd do the little show. Everyone would fucking buy it. And that's that, But there was like a sales like system, and it, like, you can pretty much sell anything on those like basics. And it's like the basics of sales that was turned into this like pristine pitch that if you do right, people are buying no matter what. And it was scary as fuck. But they were good products, like we were selling like microfibers and like the knives. And we didn't sell no $160 shit. Our things were like $30. Right. So I didn't feel too bad.
But like, the internet's kind of like that now. And it really is. Like, I can't speak on all of it, but Montreal got like the gambling industry is for like mobile devices is like heavy here because of some of the legalities of where the locations can be to run internet casinos. And they have put billions of dollars into doing everything you just described, but like on computers. And so like
those Facebook ads, like
you know what my problem with these Facebook ads for games is? I would play half the games they're showing me, but if you installed it, it isn't that game. And so I just see all these weird number games.
Why is this a thing?
And I'm like, I would play this game, but I don't trust you enough to install it.
Right? Like fucking, I think Hero Wars falls into that, and the other one, Fishdom. And like, I'm like, I want it. Like, I downloaded both of these games, like thinking like, oh, it's just gonna be a dude like solving some simple puzzle shit.
No,
like, whatever.
it's just fucking.
No, it's a fucking tower defense garbage. Like, get out of here. I don't want this shit.
Like, I want the games where it's like numbers and math and you move it around. And it's never that.
Sudoku.
No, I don't want Sudoku.
I played my first Wordle game yesterday, by the way. Thanks for.
How do you feel about Wordle?
Everywhere. Wordle is like a simplified crossword puzzle. I feel it's like crosswords for our generation.
Bro, it's so hard.
People who don't read.
I'm not going to lie. Part of why I was so last minute today, low key, is because the Wordle threw in and Bonnie sent me.
I lost today's. I didn't get today's.
I got it on the 6th one or for 5th one after staring at it for like 5 fucking minutes of just, cause I feel like I like it because it's kind of reminds me of writing bars. It taps into that shit. Okay. So like I find value in forcing myself to think about words. Yeah. That exercise to me is good. And it's got a social element, and anything that I can attach things that make me get better at life to social elements is also part of my day job. So I'm also practicing my day job.
But the thing is, Holden, the thing with Wordle is it's there's a mathematical formula to like be able to solve it. Now I don't know what it is, and I haven't
I
like I don't
watched the
care. But
video
there's
on
like
it, bro.
it's more of a process of elimination. It's like playing Sudoku. So actually, by playing Wordle, I actually got back on Sudoku now. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, Sudoku was hype. Like I love that.
But like for me, it's the added benefit of thinking about words. That's it.
Yeah,
That's what I like, and it's amazing how many five-letter words there are. You don't realize how many five-letter words there are, and then you're like, what has an L, an M, and you're like, shut the fuck up, brain, and you feel stupid, but then you get it. Oh my god, that is one good dopamine hit.
yeah. No, yesterday, like my buddy is like, oh, Wordle, it's this, and like he showed me, like it's on the New York Times, and we went to the page. He's like, you want to do one? I'm like, sure. We did it together, and like it was fun. It's like, oh, but like I don't know why people are sharing so much. It's like, why do we need this much validation?
It's not
Like
so much validation. It's actually why NFTs are hot. It's be like tribalism, and we're all fucking bored at home, especially in a place where maybe the curfews are ending, but we still don't feel encouraged to go outside. And maybe in mid-March, when because of politics, not even COVID, they're gonna change all the fucking rules. So it's like this tribalism.
Well, they already have. They already like said everything they're changing.
Yeah, in March, but it's to me it's really because they're gonna. But they didn't say it's gonna go away. They said that it will no longer be Legault, but the National Assembly that will make decisions. They did word it somewhat like that, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, the point is like, yo, we're just like sitting here at home, and it's this little 5-minute thing where we can all comment on each other's fucking Facebook, and it's all my friends that are online. Like everybody commenting is somebody I know in real life, and we can just geek out over words for a minute, and then everybody's dropping these corny ass puns that have like the word in it, and it's honestly, I see nothing wrong with that. I think it's pretty healthy.
No, there's nothing wrong. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong. But like,
but the answer to why we need to do it is because, like, hella, it's fun.
Okay.
Like, and it's like sometimes it's like that's it. It's just fun.
Yeah. But this just goes to show how much in society that we need to show everyone that we're like part of the community.
But that's like
it's,
not
it's
even.
like it's like back in the day, like everybody flying Canadian flags.
It's also like back in the day in elementary school when everyone had assigned roles. It's like, I don't know about you, but there used to be like hall monitors and shit, and everybody got to do it like once, or like the person who led the people outside at break time and shit. Like, I think it's kind of, cause like I'm into kind of like shit like the book Sapiens or Homo Deus, or like this kind of anthropological look at humanity over time. And we just like that since time.
Yeah.
Some of it's just like being human, I think. And some of it's like,
I think being human is just like, how can we like afford to fuck around the most possible by being the least productive possible, but being able to survive while doing it. Like, I think that's the human experience. We all just want to like look right now. This is just us talking, but technically this is a business that you're creating. Technically, I'm promoting myself as an advisor, even though I'm probably doing a shitty job of it today.
Nah, you did. Actually, just to like pause for, I hear what you're saying, but trust. Somebody listens to this, they'll either trust you or they don't. It might even help your case more. It's different.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like we're all just trying to just chill. Like we're literally just talking, like interviews, TV, right? That makes millions of dollars. It's a bunch of people fucking putting on this like random show, live interviews. It's like, hey, you're an interesting person. Let's see if people can listen to this. Like Joe Rogan and his fucking, like he got $300 million to be bought by Spotify. Like, where's my $300 million?
Arguably, if you put 12 years into a podcast and can generate that much hype on how your approach is, then you can have that too.
Right,
but to
next
me,
step, I guess.
But to me, it's like I'm not like, it's a business kind of, but really like this is more like advertising for another kind of part of the business to me.
So it's business.
Sort of. It's more
We're
like
part of hustle culture now.
No, it's more in the vein of your education desires than it is in the vein of like business. This show's called Bridge the Gap. Everything's about the name. It's got a mission statement and purpose. We're trying to make education and ideas and philosophy more accessible. I would argue that professionally, I'd love to be a philosopher more than anything else. So in that vein,
me too.
Hells yeah, I'm a fucking philosopher and this is my job then. Cool, I guess. But like think about like it from that point of view. I just kind of want to pursue that shit intellectually, and just talking to people I think are interesting and everyone is interesting is also part of my ideas. So I want to talk to everyone because, yo, sometimes I learn the most from the people I least expected and shit. And I get to understand other cultures or parts of life and shit. And like, yo, I get privileged enough to have employees working for me in my day job that are in fucking Ukraine. Do you know what it's like to have like the constant fact check? Oh, you think your shit's hard, bro? Imagine being in Kharkov. And you're like, okay, Canadian
Yeah,
softness.
imagine you have Russia about to fucking invade your country because, like, they're trying to join the UN and
Actually,
shit.
imagine it's more like imagine Russia showboating and trying to bait the States, and the States is buying into it, causing Russia to have reason to. And you're just going, can you all please calm the fuck down? You don't know shit because you're not here. Right? You get these perspectives
Yeah,
that are a little bit different because, and then it's hard.
but I feel that's what happened with the convoy, right? Like we saw that live here in Canada. Like all these different views and things like that. Like what's actually going down, and like we see it as a party. Some people are like, these people are fighting, and then we have the people complaining about the whole Oka thing and how the Native Americans weren't treated the same, and it's like these are issues. Like people forgot that just like last year or the year before, like they
2019.
found thousands
Oh
of
no, 2020.
sorry.
No,
Yeah, they found like thousands of kids like in fucking residential homes. Like that's an issue. Can we talk about that, please? Like, can we deal with that a little bit instead of
I got
like,
a
hey,
question. This is a
I don't
sincere
feel like
question.
wearing a mask.
I don't want to be like whatever, but what's the conversation about the kids? No, I know I sound like a shithead. This is just me being ignorant, and I'm happy to have anyone take the time to really break this down. But so far, I have yet to find a way that I understand what we're doing with that part of the conversation. Um, I understand it would happen and that it like is a point of conversation, but like I feel like people be wildly stopping the conversation there, and it's like let's talk about the kids, but like we then don't talk about the lack of water. We don't talk about the pipeline from 2019 when the government basically did not treat the convoy the same, but was trying to gun them down and shit. Like dude, it's like so it's like
For a project that then got abandoned by the U.S.
I didn't even realize
Like,
that. But it's like I appreciate the kid part and I understand it, and I think that all the work being done to like provide people's families with the resolution and knowledge, and I just don't know what else to talk about on that topic anymore personally, when there's other
it's
topics I think that are like out there too. And again, like, this could just be ignorance, so like I'm trying to like really double down that point because I know it's one of those topics, but I don't get it. Why don't we talk about the lack of water? Let's go back to like real. Like,
that should be your next interview. You should talk to somebody from the American Native. I can't even speak anymore. I didn't eat yet. I'm gonna take a bite of my bagel.
take a bite of your bagel.
No, but like you need to talk to like a
No, I'm with
representative
that.
from that.
That's a fair
And,
point. I should.
and like get the real deal, because we just hear about all this shit, right? We just hear like this is going on, this is that, but like nobody's saying what's the final answer, how we're actually dealing with it, what's the procedures. Like there's all this land debates and like destroying the environment.
Even that, like,
you don't even know what's going on up north. Like,
well, I was
up
about to
north,
say,
it's
like, didn't
like,
Quebec just pass a law that allows them to seize whatever that land they want for Quebec projects without consent? And like to me, that
that's like the same law that they use to like build the fucking hydroelectric dams.
so
that
like the
destroyed,
shit
like,
where if you
hundreds of
really
acres.
translate it, they can just grab indigenous and farmer land if necessary for the betterment of Quebec, because Quebec has its own version of a notwithstanding clause that allows them to do this. And arguably, I think that's a bigger conversation worth having, from my opinion. And nobody want to talk about that. And it's really weird because it just happened and in the middle of COVID, and like Legault's government passed that shit, and like ain't nobody really like. Canada made it. It's not okay. The Jordan Peterson situation highly misconstrued that. Scribble asked, "Is it true Canada passed a law making it illegal to not call someone by their preferred pronouns?" No, it's not what happened. They basically said if you're like a teacher in a school, please like use the pronouns. Is my best understanding of it. Like, and it was tied into some hate speech shit. And then Jordan Peterson just kind of isolated on the language of the law, wrote a fucking paper, and that shit snowballed. And then almost nothing happened with it.
But that's because the way law is written, is basically if somebody, and it's the whole malice, right? It's taking that inch and like stretching and squeezing every dime, right? Bad people take advantage of situations. You have a person who's fighting for transgender or non-binary or whatever non-naming rights, and then you have a person who like keeps omitting to recognize this person. Well, from the terms of the law, now it's going to be seen as harassment. That's my understanding. Like, I'm not a legal, but like they can actually go after them for harassment and like, you know, just for not using their pronoun that they choose.
But like,
right? And that's the slippery slope. It's like, okay, you know, like if somebody wants to be a dick, they can take the law and like stretch it, and that's the danger, you know. If I now choose, like, look, Holden, I identify myself as a female or non-binary, whatever. You can't say he, you can't say this, and I hate your face. I can like literally fucking, you know, use recorded words and stuff like that, and like entrapment.
I mean, like that's
a shitty world. This is
where I'd be like, this is where I'm like, that's more on the conspiracy side of shit. It could have happened, yeah. Will it happen in like such a minutely tiny percentage of cases that it basically doesn't happen? Probably, yeah. But like, all things considered, I'm in a world where literally everybody gives me a fake pronoun that they created to call them all the time by their artist name and shit. So I'm just kind of used to people being like, call me with this fake name that is not my real name. And I'm supposed to do that, but then we change it to pronoun and everybody acting like this is wild. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'm one of the only rappers I know that has my full fucking government name as my artist name. Like,
yeah, which you shouldn't say that too out loud because now people are going to be stealing your identity and shit, you know?
I mean, I'm probably in like every fucking breach in history. Like, so... I mean, I hear what you're saying, Scribble, kinda, but like to me, they're not that different. I just don't care. For my actions, it's like I could use your government name, I could use your rapper name, and I know people that are dead ass don't use my government name, only use my rapper name. And if somebody is dead ass, like say they instead of he, it's like, man, the fucking difference doesn't make to my life, all things considered, and that's where I'm at with it. I don't even really care that much deeper to like in my brain to like formulate deeper opinions. So I might be wrong on this one, but to me it feels like constantly people be wildly telling me to modify cultural norms and customize it if you really want to dig into society. And this is just one of those things. Do I think people should be able to sue motherfuckers over that? No. But obviously that.
But how do you stop somebody from being belligerent? And that's the issue, you know? And the issue is we have, you know, a lot of people who are older who don't understand, because, you know, we think about it like, what, 40 years ago, being a homosexual is like evil, you know. It was seen as extremely bad. And even like, here in like, you know,
like high key, I've had so many conversations with bigots where it's like, I don't think y'all remember
there's a lot of bigots.
I don't think y'all remember 2012 very well. And the thing is like I've seen it at work. Not like I can't go into a lot of details about the wheres and whats, but like I've seen it personally. Not like it doesn't affect me. I'm a fucking white dude and shit as much, so I don't really experience it. But I've been in collective groups of people that look and act like me, where they absolutely talk some shit that you would be like, oh, say word. This is what some people really think behind closed doors. Is it everyone? Mm-hmm. No. But sometimes those people have power and shit. And like, it's like, so I'm not saying we need absolutionist laws. That's not my like thing, but usually things get created because there is something. I make policy at work. We only write rules when somebody fuck up. Like we had to write a nipple rule in my like work because we have a photo editing group and somebody was posting nipples. So I had to Google all the nipple policies and write like, why was that? Because somebody was doing it. It should have been a common sense thing. It was not a common sense thing. So I had to go figure, like, that's why rules get, like, yo, when you look up those fucking strange ass laws from 1857, why did somebody make the don't fuck a dog law? You know, like, because people was fucking dogs.
And that's but this is the reality that most people don't understand about laws. And I'm not a lawyer, but like, we've seen it, right? Most rules, and this pandemic is like straight out proof to that. Most rules are reactionary. something happens, fucks shit up, so let's make a law about it. Tax laws are in the same way. Everything's like, it's the same. It's just like shit happens. Okay, we got to deal with this. This is the best of our knowledge right now. And then like 20 years, 30 years later, times change. These things aren't relevant anymore. It's like, how the fuck do you go back in time and change the law now? It's like, it's going to take a lot of, unpacking, because maybe there's other laws that are built on top of it. And like, shit. Yeah. Now we have to like undo this whole thing we can't like piss in the street. Like, which should be common sense, but
then
some people still piss in the street.
Facts. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not afraid to go pee on a building here and there. It's what it is.
Right? It's middle of the night. Fuck yeah, all places are closed. The best is when you go to like
but the truth is,
like, yo,
if there was no...
Hold on, I need your bathroom, And they're like, nah. It's like, yo, Big Daddy comes up in there, Like, I hope you've seen Big Daddy. Jesus Christ. But, like, that's when people piss on the building on purpose because they pissed them off. It's like, we're all just trying to live right.
Well, I mean, when it comes to the peeing thing, though, arguably, if there was no ticket, I would do it a lot more. Like, there's a risk. And then I have to, like, go find things and whatnot. And I'm not trying to, like, say I'm for every law, but, like, man, half the tax laws are weird, but, like, it's this giant chain reaction of the government trying to avoid manipulation of the law mixed with people trying to make laws that are ambiguous enough to manipulate. And it's so weird. But, like, a lot of laws actually just get made for civil things because people did some dumb shit. And then, unfortunately, that's not a law. And like, I'm talking about, like, especially at, like, city bylaw levels and shit. Like, it gets really interesting.
I know what you're saying.
So, like, that's the only thing. So it's like, I mean, I'm sure there were just enough harassment cases that were considered valid, so the Liberal government tried to deal with it because, I mean, I guess they felt it was a relevant thing to do, whether or not it was
there's probably a group of people. So like, we all think that like laws is because the majority of people want something done. It's like, nah. I remember when you're doing that interview thing, it's like how to change like city bylaws and stuff. And apparently it was like 20 signatures for a stop sign. I'm like, the fuck, I want speed bumps now. Like, I'm going to talk to my neighbors. Like, there's dangerous drivers here. Let's do something. But it's like, it's usually the small group, 10,000 signatures. It's like it's nothing. So you have this small group of people who want something done, and they're, lobbying the government basically, because that's what it is. And then you have people like the majority, the 99% of the population who doesn't give a fuck, who's not paying attention, who's not watching things. And it just like, new law.
And that's the thing. Or like you were saying before, like we could all just watch the law discussions on TV and get involved. Actually, I want to say that in local politics, that's a lot harder. It's not as accessible. And I say that from experience. Like one of the debates they had this year was 50 people could go attend it. And I'm like, wow, 50. We have like 160,000 people in our collective boroughs of 50. What? Anyway, and then they didn't want to do it.
Well, they used to have town halls, right?
I was saying,
town halls used to be a thing, like once a year or once
like
a month.
They don't, and like nobody ever goes to that shit, to be honest, except for apparently, what's his name, fucking Dave Chappelle, because he was just in the news when at town hall. But yeah, like nobody be going to town halls. Even when Dave Chappelle there, the town hall's empty. Like the whole thing is like wild. Nobody gives a fuck about local politics, the due process. And honestly, it's entirely possible that via like other means, like protests with postal codes, not protest, the fucking shit you sign. I can't remember the word for it.
Oh, petitions.
Petitions, that's it, yeah. Petitions with postal codes or zip codes to you Americans. You just get like 50,000 postal codes, bro. It's over. Government gonna respond because that's a crazy number.
They have to.
At that point. Yeah. And it might be easier to do that than the convoy, arguably.
Yes. Right? If you have 500,000 supporters, like, I'm sorry. Let's get one person to fucking collect these signatures. And here's the most surprising thing. While the Freedom Convoy is there, did anybody like sign any petitions at all? Did anybody put their names down saying we want to change things?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Like think of it. You have 10,000, 20,000 people in Ottawa right now as we speak. couldn't a guy just go around with a fucking clipboard and just be like, here's what we're asking, just sign this to like give your name? Like, did nobody do this? It's
yeah, I gotta wonder if the thought process would be we can't record our names here. I don't know. But like,
and that makes you ask, like, what is their motives then?
I don't know,
Why?
but a lot of people are about to
Look,
get
if I
criminal
feel the
records
government's
today.
not doing something, I'm gonna go, yo, Trudeau, you fucking suck. Like, this is why, and this is why we feel you should make things different. Like, do things properly.
I don't, okay, but like, the other side of it is I just tried to get involved with the local political sphere, and I learned something really interesting. If you're not a homeowning parent, nobody's going to talk to you about politics. So there is.
Why would they?
But that's the problem. If nobody, it's
what issues are you, single person living in an apartment, dealing with that will, like, are you single because of the way society is? No, because we have all these, homeowning parents.
It's like, actually, I'd argue that I have a lot of needs that government ignores as an artist, as like an entrepreneur, as a lot of, I'm sorry, but everybody in the city count. We all get affected by lots of issues, traffic, this, that, the next thing. I'm a cyclist. I'm pro bike lane. That shit bothers me that motherfuckers hate cyclists. I'm sorry.
I was driving down Peel yesterday. You see what they did on Peel? They got these nice bike sidewalks now. They elevated it because painting wasn't enough. So they elevated like on both sides like a bike lane. It's pretty fucking dope.
Or like for me it's like the one at Atwater saves lives, bro. Like it was Atwater was a death trap. Not Atwater, Angrion. I meant to say Angrion. And it's like a death trap and you had to bike with the cars over that bridge and literally you're like, is this illegal? But no, it was what you're supposed to do. And then like you're like, now there's this really nice, safe ass, fucking disconnected, you're never gonna get hit by a car route. And like, look, 500,000 people out of the 4 million people in the collective greater Montreal area cycle. That's 1 in 8. And arguably it's more if you just focus on the island. So it's like, it's a larger number than I think a lot of drivers take into consideration. Way less than a fringe. So, I mean, that's a local politics. Garbage removal. Local politics issue. Composting programs. Local fucking gardens. Like, there's so many issues that affect people that don't live in houses, actually. But, like, we'll never talk about it because when you're canvassing, you just go to the houses. And people will argue and tell me that people go to apartments. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody go to an apartment. You go to the house.
As if anybody in the apartments is going to answer. Right now, your bell goes off, Holden. The fuck do you want?
Actually, it's not true. Bro, when the compost people showed up, we talked to them and got compost information and got free coupons because the city showed up and informed us about new programs. I do talk to those people. And if like local politicians were to show up at my door and make the effort to canvass me, maybe I'm the anomaly because I'm now highly interested in local politics. But like, I might actually acknowledge they exist in a way where...
Yeah, but it's time again. There's 400,000. How many people are in your borough? 150,000?
Yeah, it's wild. It's broken into 5 districts, blah, blah, blah.
So this is what we'll do. We're going to knock at the people's houses because they have houses and they can put my sign on their front door.
Yeah.
Right?
And statistically...
Whereas apartments...
So statistically, it's
going to take you a day just to go through the apartment.
But that's the thing, is that statistically, all the effort gets put on homeowning parents, not single homeowners, but homeowning parents. Then all the voters tend to be homeowning parents, and it creates a cycle where like people be winning on like fucking 18% of the fucking vote, 22% of the vote. So you're like going, that's not really great. So there's a problem with that issue about trying to get involved. And this is like an active thing I care about, but the system doesn't really want to make it simple for people to know how to legally do a fucking thing, bro. Have you been to the government websites and shit? Yo, I took a screenshot one day, or I took a picture of like a URL that the government had put out on a sign that was important shit. It was like it was like homelessness.
Like, make a fucking QR code, bro. Like...
I know what's most important is like, there's nobody that knows about SEO. It's like, what? You have 400 council people and no SEO specialist? Get the fuck out of here.
So I was talking to my colleagues about this because there's a lot of programs out there. There's a lot of programs that exist that help people save, that give different tax advantages, that help you put your kids in school. Like, there's a lot of shit. on these government websites. But even me as, like I'm not a novice financial advisor, like I'm experienced. And it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot to get through. But the government's not going to put money in advertising that they're giving away money. And that's the main. It's an issue of economics. It's like, look, if you want free money, at least do the work to find it. We're not going to fucking poster all over that we're giving this money away from tax dollars, because then the program becomes too overloaded, right? It's a business issue. Our tax dollars are paid by us. So if we had infinite tax dollars, then yeah, sure, let's do all the fucking advertising. The next government websites were only updated in the past like 2-3 years. Like,
I mean, like, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not left that this is true, because the amount of bloat and waste that goes into customer service cost alone to field those questions might even help. Like there's so much bad in the bloat and the waste that, like, the money's just there. And I'm not sure I'm convinced that, like, Montreal is a weird place politically, because it has more city councilors than, like, it has as many city councilors as the fucking people that vote in the U.S. president. Okay, like, is that not wild?
What?
There's like 450 people or whatever that pick the U.S. president at the National Congress or whatever.
Oh,
And there's like
the electoral college.
Yeah, Montreal don't need that many people. Like, it's a city. And yet there's that many decision makers and people. It's wildly weird. Our city is so bizarre politically.
Quebec is like that. Yeah. I find Quebec, there's a lot of extra layers of bureaucracy that just make things so inefficient and, like, complicated for nothing. But it's because
business.
Without those positions, we would have a higher unemployment rate.
I guess.
I used to work in the. Let me tell you another story. I used to work in the lighting industry. All right. I don't even know if I'm allowed talking about this, but anyways, so let's okay. We look outside. There's the LED lights, right, that they've been putting in the streets, right? LEDs. Sure. You see those? Okay. The metro. You know what LED, like the street lights, how it's like white now and not like fucking golden.
Well, I mean, I never really thought about it until you said that right now, but I guess now that you're saying it, I'm noticing it in my head, but yeah.
Everything used to be like golden orange, and now it's like white. It's like white light. Yeah. So that's an LED transition. So there's this whole thing, moving on to dark sky technology, make sure there's not more light pollution, saving electricity costs, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you go to the metro system, it does, because, you put a big expense now to not have maintenance later, because, the difference between an LED and a normal, let's say a metal halide bulb, which is it's the same light, but it's like metal halide, you have to maintain it. There's a ballast and there's a bulb. So the bulb burns every like 3-4 years. So you need a guy to fucking go up and change a light bulb. And then you have the ballast, which like burns every 5 years. So 2 times you need to fucking send a guy up. So this person though is an electrician, and he's paid. So he's on government dime, right? So I was looking at a project, and like, let's say like hospitals or schools or the metro system, let's say. Now, logically, we would think that they would move towards the better technology of low maintenance and low, electricity costs, right? LEDs. But yet most of these projects don't go to LEDs. And so I asked why. I question it. And literally it's because they have electricians on contract that are on payroll. And if they switch to LEDs, these guys have no work. So they keep these old sources in order to, keep the economy going. It's like fake jobs that are being created in order to do these things. And I feel that's the same reason why our roads are so shit. We got to keep money pumping into the construction thing, so we're going to do minimalist type of work that's not that great quality that we're going to have to fix in a couple of years, so we can have the budget that goes to that. And like, I don't know if I'm right or whatever, but to me, it just feels like that's what they're doing. They're just like creating a wheel that turns itself.
I don't know if I agree on the roads. I think the roads is more local politics. Like if you're only in charge for 4 years, you don't want to be the one holding that bag. It's I think that plays into it, but I think
That's
otherwise,
a good point.
you may be right though, because I'm not like it's like yo, like how many times do you see like little mining towns and shit like yo, let's make these crazy government programs to like spend billions of dollars to like, reserve an industry that'll keep 30,000 people employed. I'm not trying to be a shithead about it, but like arguably there might be better solutions at a macro level. But it's not.
I think Bombardier fell into that category a couple of times.
So it's
You
like
know,
I don't know what all the solutions are, but like that would be like fighting gravity moments to me. And like sometimes it's hard because like what do you do? And there's a lot of emotion attached to that. There's a lot of empathy attached to that. And I'm not that empathetic about this kind of shit. I'm really cold sometimes, so it's worth taking that with a grain of salt. But like, yo, if you don't need the electrician can always evolve like a Pokemon at any age. But that's the problem. These motherfuckers don't want to evolve or nothing. So and yo, a lot of these people have great gigs I might never get. They probably make crazy money and shit. So of course there's like all this interest in preserving it for a lot of people. But like it just sometimes doesn't make sense. And you see it a lot with legacy everything. Everything legacy is gonna do
yeah.
this.
No.
But like I'm not saying I'm right about anything, but economically it's fucking wild and there is this something happening where people want to protect jobs more than they care about like the innovation because when we create new
The
jobs
environment.
and the truth is when you create a bunch of new jobs like they talk about it's usually like one group of people gets hired at the cost of another group of people losing their job, right? Like let's be
Yeah.
fucking real about how that ends. And it's like there's not like this clean transfer of wealth and power and it creates problems, but then there's
Well,
no like
it's like you take an example of a coal factory, right? Coal, like that burns coal to make electricity. Okay, so one of these coal factories,
right.
very bad for the environment, very shit. So government changes law saying we don't want any coal factory anymore. We're going to do a hydro. It's not the same guys who's working at the coal factory who's going to go work at the hydro dam. It's all these guys from that coal factory that's shutting down and fucking just losing their jobs and having to figure it out.
And
Not fun.
arguably we don't because we don't really look at the to me because we don't look at it like that we don't really have conversations that lead to solutions and we just do the protect the job version and feel about what's right and I've had people like dead ass be like but yo you want to leave those miners dead on their ass. I'm like nah but like I also
The
think they're
miners
not.
got to figure their shit out.
Well, no, I think there needs to like, cause I've seen programs where they do like education transitions and they like teach the miners to code and learn some fucking stats and programming and shit. But like, that's the other side of it is everybody has to be a little more understanding that maybe these are the new basic life skills and like if you're not willing to get on board with that, it's gonna be really hard. I can't change that reality. This isn't a Holden reality. This is everywhere I look, everything is data centric and computer driven. So, like, I mean, manual labor getting replaced by robots and shit. It's not like a if, it's a when.
It's a real thing.
Like, and people
Yeah.
don't, and people like act
Self
like,
checkouts is a reality that
bro, half these jobs pay $150,000 and shit because they're mortal. Like if you're like a tree guy and like one of your buddies is gonna die every season, like like that's what the jobs that they're replacing with robots and shit. So it's changing shit. It's changing everything, and it's like it's not going back. And I don't know how to make it go
and then
back.
that's something we all need to like realize. You said a lot of interesting things right there. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
it goes
I'm
on.
sorry,
But
my brain just like
nah, it's cool.
eating now.
We're like 3 hours deep, so you like survived like a champion
We
for
are.
3 hours.
I did. Is this typically your like interviews like 3 hours long? Let's
Depends
say.
person. Yo, I'm all about.
I
It's
don't
all
know.
about the vibe of it. Two things will impact my decision to cut some shit short. If nobody's watching and it's boring, it's over. But if I think that the discussion is proper and and if like in a year somebody came back to this conversation, they can have value in it. Then why wouldn't we run that and then make that piece of content? And
Yeah.
then when somebody ever lands on it and watches it, that's what it is. They can enjoy it or they don't. But the experience of making it, this is like a good 3 hours spent. What else was I gonna do today? And so it's like it kind of plays.
Oh, dude, I love talking to you,
That's what I
man.
mean.
You're like, no, and that's the thing. Like, fuck, you just like hit a bunch of points, and my brain just kind of like went like, whoop, and I'm like, okay, which points do I want to talk to? Like I want to keep talking, man, but like whatever. You're an interesting guy. I hope we do this again.
But that's the thing is
But
that's
no,
why we do this show.
replacing people with robots, man, that's like another thing. People are seeing it happen, and like they're not doing anything to like prepare for it. It's like living in ignorance. It's like you see that, you're a cashier, and then you hear about like electronic cashes, and it's like, no, we got to fight this. It's like, what do you mean fight this? I go to the store, and literally I just pick the shortest line. I don't give a shit if it's a cashier or if it's a robot. I'm gonna scan my, like, I don't care. I just want to get out as fast as possible. I don't want to be in that store anymore. So whatever will get me to that goal of getting me back outside, I will take that path. And you know what? I am slower than the cashier on the electronic path. I am so slow, but I don't care because at least I'm moving, right? It's like sitting in traffic, okay? I don't care if the car is moving 10 kilometers an hour. As long as it doesn't stop, I can fucking just keep going. I don't care. Like, as long as I'm in movement, I don't want to stop.
That's how I feel about cycling. Even if it takes longer to get to a place than a car might, you're in perpetual motion and you're being like active, so it's a better experience. But I agree with you. But the problem is often like we're talking from a position of we know like money and stats and this and that, so like we can go look at.
We
this
know
shit.
too much, and we're white. We have bad opinions.
No, it's a high level of privilege. Honestly, just even being Canadian and living in where we come from and having the experiences we've had. And
oh my god, dude! I have a friend who's down in Guatemala right now, right? And I'm like, what's it like there? What's the COVID situation? This is like 2-3 weeks ago, beginning of January, that I was talking to him, and he's like, well, I'm the only guy walking around without a mask, and he's like, it's weird, but everyone else is wearing masks, and I'm like, well, is there laws? And he's like, no, there's no laws. But everybody's wearing masks. And I'm like, so we started talking about like why that might be. These people don't have free healthcare. These people like hearing about this fucking virus, it's out killing people with whatever, like internet or whatever. And like he's in Guatemala, like these tiny ass towns, and everyone's wearing masks. And no one's giving him shit about not wearing a mask. It's just everybody's just wearing masks. And I'm like, yeah, I guess, when you have to pay for your own healthcare and shit, and like you're poor, like protect yourself. That's what it is. There's no conversation about fucking like mandates and things. Like they want vaccines. They want to like, not die, basically.
But arguably, a lot of the people who end up in those situations, back to that privilege point, might not come from the same kind of literacy rates and shit, right? So literacy is a fascinating concept. Like being literate arguably is reading well enough to do your job, but we perceive the term literate as being like smart and like actually processing information, but they're not the same thing. Literate is you can receive information and instructions correctly. Conscious thinking and like critical thinking is more like going deeper with it, which is not actually the common skill. Like they sort of half-ass teach it in high school and shit, but like a lot of people just end up not being critical thinkers because society.
Well, that's the difference between high school and university. That's like the major difference. In elementary school, high school, you're taught to be like a slave, basically. Like you're taught to do what you're told.
So then, like,
which is basically what our parents used to teach us. Like you're taught to be a good employee, listen to your fucking boss, don't do shit or you end up in detention.
So it's just like if you look at the people that are doing a lot of this shit, it's often certain socioeconomic classes and certain groups of occupations and things like that show up. Like wildly, the nurses aren't there. They're highly educated and they ain't there.
I was talking to one of my friends because we know a lot of nurses, and I saw one post something this morning that really like touched me, and she works here in Montreal, and she's like along the lines of, I don't remember the exact quote, but she's like, look, I know everybody's feeling relieved and happy that these mandates are gone, but like they've took it too far, because I work in this and I see what happens to people, and we're not ready for this yet. We're not ready for like open free for all and like, and she's struggling. She's been working the whole time and just like grinding. Imagine if when the Freedom Convoy showed up, and then like I gave this as a hypothesis to one of my buddies. And I'm like, imagine the nurses are like, oh, you know what? You have 500,000 people arguing against mandates. Us, the nurses, we're going to stand up and we're going to walk out of the hospitals and not treat people who are not vaccinated. And like, imagine, they have every right to. They could protest, but they're not. So it's like, because if they do that, people actually die. Like they don't want people to die.
And you gotta kind of have a good understanding of stats and math to be a nurse. Just facts of the situation.
Yeah.
Like you gotta have some understanding of it. Yeah, I'm not saying you have to be brilliant, but like there'd be a lot of milligrams and percentages and fucking hyper specific details to track on charts. I mean, that's that data gang shit.
So they have that skill set, right? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a huge...
To me, like, it's really, there's a correlation on that. People who don't understand data science or how data works or math and stats, like I said earlier, are the ones that often can get sensationalized a lot quicker. And everyone believes they're literate, and by literate, they believe it means critical thinking. And then I found out that that's not what that means, and it fucked me up for a long time because that was like a recent discovery in my life. And with that, it's like you have to understand the world is not critical thinking literate. They're not even computer literate even. There's so many people that are just not. And as time changes, the level of literacy evolves to being more stat, math, and like algorithms and shit, right? Like you go to work and it's like, yo, you have to leave a reason to contact because that data being tracked. That's that call center shit. Everything you do, track it. Everything in accounting, track it, data. So it's like new literacy rates are required in order to determine what's valuable in a common workplace. And I don't think that conversation gets had a lot because I don't even think people are aware that shit's happening. Or the old people aren't aware that that's happening, but the young people are very aware that's happening.
Yeah, well, you have to think of where our parents come from too, right?
I get it.
They're from a time of like pensions and like, you didn't have to fucking struggle as much as we do. Like Canada was simpler back then. Less people, less immigration, less volatility with the states, I guess. I don't know. But it's like back then, companies would stay around for a long time. Like there were more profit, these pension programs and things like that. And then during one crash, they all like evaporated. And that was like a slap in the face to everyone who's like living that paradigm of just like, I'm going to work my 9 to 5. I'm going to get my pension and everything's going to be good. Now, even teachers, military people, like their pensions are like fucked because it's not matching inflation. So it's like, holy shit. Like we've gone back to a time of like personal, like financial independence, like where we have to like figure out our shits or else we end up retired and fucked, which is a lot of people's cases. I see it all the time. I have people, reaching out for a company calling me like, yo, I'm like 55. I got to retire in 10 years. Like, let's do it. I'm like, all right, what do you got? Nothing.
Good luck.
Let's do it, buddy. Like, I don't fucking know.
So are you prepared to save 68% of everything you make?
No, and there's another side of the coin of like people who literally, grind and hustle and like make like over 6 figures, and they'll save like 60, 70% of their salary just to be able to like retire in like the next 10 years. Like, so they'll like advance their retirement super fast and be at that next level. But in the meantime, they're living like garbage. They're literally like living in like cardboard boxes and whatever, just to be able to like hit that dream life of never having to work again.
That sounds that sounds like
something else.
Yeah. All I know is I'm glad I opened an RRSP because like I did that because work said they'd give me 3%, and that was like 8 or 9 years ago, so they matched my 3%. And
that's a good reason to open an RRSP, yes. But there's other reasons.
No, that was it.
And it's like
I was like, that sounds like free money.
It is. look, what I tell everybody, if you have a group plan that matches your money, max it out.
Yeah.
Like, don't bother going individual. Don't try to find some like random stocks or stupid cryptos or whatever. Just fucking take the free money. You know,
Yo, like
take the free
arguably,
money.
I've gained on this investment a lot, like over 100% return because I only put in half the money and then that's
Right?
free. And every year it's gotten to an amount where it actually makes a couple thou now, and it's like, oh, I remember the first day I lost $3,000 in my RRSP. Was a fucking mind fuck. I'd never lost $3,000 before I did Moment. I came back and we won more, and I was like, okay, cool, the stocks are on sale. Let's run this shit. But like,
But you're talking about literacy, you know, and that's why we do the financial literacy courses. Like, literally, they're called financial literacy courses because, like, fuck, people don't know how these things work. They just have an RRSP, and they're like, oh, that's for my retirement. And then they see a home buyer's plan, and they're like, well, I want a house. Let's just move that there, you know? And it's like, okay, but what happens to your retirement goals? It's like, I don't give a shit. I have a house now. It's like, okay.
Are you saying that the house thing is not maybe the best use of your RRSP?
Why would it be? Isn't your RSP for retirement?
Bro,
See,
I got told since time by everybody that's older than me about this house program, and that's half the reason I should have an RRSP. Since time, motherfuckers be like, yo, and I use my RRSP.
So,
and I
so do you know there's a maximum?
Insert age and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, but talking about old people, first of all, houses were not $400,000 or $500,000 20 years ago. Okay, they're between 150 and 350, right? So right away, if you're looking at 5% down payment for a house, let's say a house that's, you know, $300,000, you need 15K. Okay, it's like, cool. So obviously, you know, taking 15K from your RSP, whatever. Now, if all you have in your RSP is 15K and you're like later on in life, that's going to fuck you up. The most important thing about investing is understand what your goals are. That whole thing about mission, right? Your money should have missions too. You know, some money for retirement, some money for a house, some money for a car, some money for vacation. Like, you need to put missions on your fucking money. And that, as soon as people click on that, that's when they can actually start, you know, managing their money properly, because their money means something. But to the average Joe, they're living such a stressful life that they're not even looking at their money. They're just like, and they have these automatic group plans, and then they feel like they should have a house because everyone around them is buying a house, and then they go and do it. But they're not like paying attention. You know, everything's just flowing in the background.
I'm with you, man. Scribble asks, where's everybody at? Usually the chat is packed. Upon which it's like, bro, this is the randomest game ever. Sometimes I've seen like 9 people there and nobody chats, but they stick around. And then sometimes 5 people are there and the chat's like, but we're talking about like money, finance, and like it's just not like the same kind of shit. Like usually people I find on those streams are more like, oh, this is really interesting.
I don't know. We didn't really talk about money until like right now, though.
Nah, but it's been like interlaced into a lot. The way this works is we interlace the main topics of what your specialty is into regular. You talked about financing, budget, all kinds of shit in the middle via stories.
True.
So it's been like a constant theme of like this type of conversation. Yeah, Bonnie got herself some jobs, so she'd be busy working on some shit, doing some freelance writing and shit. But that's kind of what I find. And then if we were sitting here talking about like Cardi B or something, we might get more reactions from people because like it's like a more comment type of thing. But also, I don't really attract like the kinds of people as of yet that really go heavy on politics because like arguably I don't do a lot of streams with non-musicians, you know? Like that's the thing. It's like I'm trying to get
so
in
we
that
should have
direction.
kept it to a theme of like,
nah,
you know,
bro, this was
teaching
perfect.
musicians
This is the fucking show,
to
bro.
manage their cash.
Nah, G, this was the show. This is what I want. This is what I want, and that's the most important part.
You're talking to me, Holden. That's what you get.
But that's the thing is I talk to whoever and I get that from them. If I talk to Scribble, and every interview is kind of different, right? Because it's like going on dates and shit, you know? It's like you're like everybody's a little bit different, and it's kind of like fun to hear all these experiences. Like, I don't necessarily vibe with everybody I talk to, but I always learn some shit. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, but I always learn some shit. And usually they're interested. Very few people I'll go past 3 hours with. That's got to be like endless, flowing, easy fucking conversation. If it's effort, I'm not going that far. But if I can just constantly think of shit and it's constantly interesting for me, then it's the best shit ever. And if people are watching, they get the benefit of the free game that you spit. And if they're not here, it's still there. It's still part of the repertoire of life. It's part of the 4 videos I might put out this week. It's like
it's a blip in the numbers.
But it's a hot
speaking
blip.
Of finance, no,
on.
that's cool. I'm down with this. I'm down to talk to you anytime, man. No, finances. I hate how finances are advertised. I hate the hype pull it gets. You know, like crypto went through this whole thing because a lot of people made a lot of money on crypto. But I feel a lot of people also lost a lot of money in crypto and nobody's talking about it. You know, it's an investing game like any other, but like the thing that I got from crypto is that most people invest in shit they don't understand, or like even the surface of it. It's just to be part of it, you know, it's to be part of that culture, that tribe, the whole NFT thing. It's like, yeah, let's get on it.
Hold up. Scribble says, nah, Rene, you interesting. Keep spitting game. Rappers don't want to hear this shit, so I'll listen.
But Scribble's a rapper, right?
Yeah, but Scribble's okay. I don't want to be that guy in case anybody I know is watching, but there are levels to this shit. And I know for a fact that since the day I met Scribble, he was operating as a rapper at a level that was more professional than what I've done. I'd say recently I'm moving into where he's been at for years. Right? Like just getting it done, being prolific. He has relationships with people. He's involved in the scene. He puts it's not a joke. It's like
I
it's
feel
a
like
real
you
thing.
have mad respect. I feel like you have mad respect for Scribble, and
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
you kind of look up to him a little bit. Like, does he help you out sometimes? You get some good mentorship?
I mean, he signed up for my Patreon for a minute, but it's more we're just home. It's more like I respect him as like somebody that arguably in the rap game I do look up to as like, wow, it's actually possible. Like he's done it. So in that regard, to know that I'm homies with somebody that could actually get out there and work with some people I would love to work with and do it in ways that I believe are the ways to approach it, it's pretty cool. Otherwise, it's like we just kind of developed a relationship. So I do respect him because I know that end of the day, we haven't even met. We were supposed to link up. He was supposed to come to Canada, but then the magical virus came. But then the thing is like Scribble
Go
be
to
like,
LA, it's better.
Yeah, fair, but if he's coming up here, even still, this is what it would have worked out easy at that time. I would love to go to LA though. My homeboy is going out to LA to do a video shoot with Fredro Starr or one of these guys. Fucking dope. But like, it's a lot to do with the fact that I'm surrounded by a lot of people who don't care about the business or the brand, and anybody that does, I will talk about like this. Because it's very important to me to like establish that certain people are really doing it and some people are hobbyists, and there's a huge difference. And I don't think that people recognize that difference, but to me it's really clear. If you're a hobbyist, you might be a really shitty non-hobbyist. I would put myself as a terribly unsuccessful non-hobbyist, but like it's not like a hobby.
Respect.
Like,
but there, like what I've learned with business, you know, like I've only been in the finance game since 2018. Like I touched it, I dabbled in it back in 2008, but like really full all in, like this is my career path. It's been 4 years. And it took like the first 6 months, like it was a hobby to me. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just flapping around, you know, talking to people like, yo, can I look at your money? Maybe give you some pointers. Like, we'll see. Like it was a really awkward conversation for me. You know, I come from a poor family. Like everyone's like, what the fuck, Rene, you're driving a 97 Corolla. What do you know about money? It's like, well, the reason why I drive that 97 Corolla is because cars cost money. And I don't like spending my money on cars. So there you go, you know, like, but there's a lot of vanity in this industry. There's a lot of, you know, and when I changed cars, literally, I just upgraded my car, and not even to something new. I bought a fucking 2009, okay? So from my point of view, I went from a car that's 12 years newer, but from everyone else, it's like, yo, this car's still 12 years old. Like, who the fuck are you? But just by doing that, like my business doubled. Okay. And this pandemic just being available for people, like my business doubled again. And it's just like, holy shit, like I'm on this momentum and it's just nuts. It's just like the way businesses like move and how you get clients and stuff, it's just out of this world. I don't even understand it. It's like, how am I getting referrals this year, left, right, and center, like so much that I don't have time to call my clients and stuff like that. But I'm getting a whole bunch of new business. Like it's a different game now. It's weird.
Yeah, that's why being an influencer is fun, because you influence shit. I don't know, man. I just look at it like it is a different game, but that's where you can, like, the real benefit to being an influencer is you find your street team, you find your moderators, and once you find your moderators, bro, it's over. Yo, you think, like, you watch like a Drink Champs or one of these interview shows, these motherfuckers have motherfuckers to do all the research and then send them the shit to watch. You gotta get out there and find those people. You gotta find like the people that are like, well, if you're old, you want to find mentees, and if you're young, you want to find mentors. So there's like this like hybrid nature. Like, I want to make myself more available to 20-year-olds and figure out how me and 20-year-olds can collectively come up with schemes to make serious cash. Because working with people my age has not been that fun. Like, it's just not my favorite. Everybody got like the same.
We're stuck in our ways. We're just like, I don't want to do other things. I'm already doing all this shit.
I don't know if I can argue with people about VR and shit for the rest of my life. You know who I don't have to argue with? Young people. So it's just like, what am I? Let's redo shit. Let's think different in 2022.
That was a huge turning point for me. Like realizing that it's like,
hold on, Scribble. Not all 20-year-olds are. 20-year-olds are kind of out there, you know. They can be, but not all of them. Some of them be wild hustlers with good ideas.
Yeah, and some of them are flat earthers fighting for, I don't know whatever. There's niche cliques and everything, but it's like, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. Sorry, Holden. I'm horrible at interviews.
No, it's okay. You went like 3 hours and 20 minutes now, so I would argue you're not horrible at this if we're having stimulating conversation for elevated hours. So it's just, it's about working with young people to me, as we were just discussing. And
that's it.
It's about staying young, honestly.
So it's like, when I found my first success in career, the one I was making a lot of money in, the reason why I succeeded is because I was, mentoring people. I was like a manager, right? So I'm like motivating salespeople to get on the grind. And the reason why I was successful is because I was doing that grind also. Like I did the same job as them, and I was able to teach them how to do the job and like make money at it. What type of mindsets you need, what type of, mood you need to be in order to do a proper pitch type of thing. I love working with young people. I wish I could find like fucking 20 young people that I could just like turn into financial advisors and just like make them like fucking teach people finances. Like that's my dream.
All right. You know how to accomplish
just
that
like
dream,
get out there and
you're going to want to become an influencer.
Get on social media.
You're probably going to want to be on TikTok. I'm just going to throw that one out there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying, though? Yeah, it all boils back to the same shit. I know. Now, can you go out there and find a bunch of 20-year-olds in real life? Kinda. You can go to universities and play that grind, I guess. Like, I don't mean the creepy one, like the post a flyer.
University students? Like,
So, like, where else are you finding people? I'm saying this is, like, I'm 34. How am I going to go find a bunch of 20-year-olds? Do you think they're inviting me to parties? No. At the rap show, it's probably not really the group I'm looking for. You know what's helpful? TikTok.
Yeah.
All these other places. Being on Instagram has helped me a lot.
So I'm going to let you reset your sound. It's a bit scratchy, but I'll talk in the meantime. There's a 24-year-old who like works the front desk at the office that we rent from. Okay. And I've been trying to get on the lowdown with this kid forever. He's a cool guy. We vibe.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't think your sound got picked up because I had to reset the sound thing. So all that was you just like talking, but then it didn't get picked up.
That's good. It's good because I don't really like what I said. So
awesome. Honestly, though, I'm
So,
not.
so
I
there's this.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh, it's okay. No, there's this young. I get what you're saying. Like, there's this young guy who works at the front desk at the office I work at. He's like 24, and I vibe with him well, but like at work. So maybe that's just like an at work like professional like image that he's giving. That he's a cool guy. He's a DJ. You know, he's smart. He's going to university. He does marketing, and like he's in the music biz. So like I'm always like, oh, like I'm gonna come crash your fucking DJ vibes one night, and he's always like avoiding it. Like he's always like, yeah, no, please don't ever come near like where I am. Yeah, it's too exclusive. You need to reserve. Like, get out of here.
That's it. But if you were
So I'm
like
just like,
on, but if you,
I'm not cool anymore.
however,
Shit.
if you had 50,000 followers on TikTok, you'd be cool enough.
Yeah. Then he'd be like, yo, here's my boy Rene. Like, yeah.
Welcome
But
to.
I don't know if the financial game you can get 50,000 viewers on TikTok.
I mean,
It's like
arguably, you could probably pull that faster
like
than I could with music. Right now,
probably because all I'd have to do is some like satirical, like
bro.
fucking
You do a
weird like finance
so you
comments.
do a combination of like this. You take the current trends and you make them yourself, like finance shit. So if they're doing the top 3 trend, you do a top 3 for finance. Top 3 questions I get asked as a financial.
Oh, so like I make like a Wordle, but with like a financial like term.
That would be a way to paraphrase it. Yeah. Another thing you do is the green screen rant.
Yeah.
So you take a green screen of a news article or a thing and you just commentary on it with your knowledge. And then you do a low-key education thing and you just mix that 3 kinds, trend hopping with those 2 other kinds of content, and boom, you probably could get to a sizable audience of people.
With that though. Yeah. So I see what you mean. If I talk in generalities, I could do that.
You can go hella
The
specific.
big thing with our industry is because no. I can't talk against like other things and things that exist. I have to always be objective and be like, all of these products have a purpose. And this purpose might not be for you, but in this case, it is not. But there is a value to these products.
Right.
So I just have to be like
that
careful
is really valuable.
Wording.
Well, of course, you're in content. You're supposed to be careful with your wording. But like, regardless of that part, it's like, yeah, no, for real. Like, a lot of that shit is pretty like dope in terms of potential to grow, because it really is. It's just we don't see it like that because of whatever. But you just make parts.
But I see these guys online. But I see these guys online who are just so much better than me at like doing the video, explaining things, the editing, taking the time. And it's just like, I don't want to just throw in my like garbage 2 cents just to get like increase my business. I feel like there's enough content out there that I can just send people towards valuable content instead of me creating that myself, which won't be as good as that video.
I mean, that's a big old yet.
So I guess there's a lot of.
You're not saying the word yet, and that's the flaw in your logic. You would ultimately get better if you started. You don't have to like.
Maybe I don't want to do that.
Well, if you want 20-year-olds,
well, I'm gonna experiment.
So this is what I say. It's like if you want those 20-year-olds, this is a great way to accomplish it. And if you're sucky, you can get better.
But hold on. So I'd love to do that. I'd love to help all these 20-year-olds and things like that. The reality is, though, 20-year-olds aren't good for business because who do 20-year-olds know? Other 20-year-olds. What do 20-year-olds have? They don't have money, that's for sure. They're all fucking broke, going to school, things like that. So from a business point of view, and this is what sucks in the financial industry, people who need this knowledge and help and things like that, they're not worth our time because we're just not making money off it. And that's why we created the financial education classes, so people could just show up to that. So we had to like create a central location and keep that running as like a pro bono, and then that's one of the biggest issues that I hear from my peers and my colleagues whenever we say our ideas.
Because y'all miss playing some serious shit. Everybody's thinking short term, fair enough. I'm not telling the people how to eat, but
yeah.
Whoever targets those 20-year-olds is rich in 10 years, like beyond their dreams.
Yep, absolutely.
So it really depends on how long term you want to go with it. But Rene, at this point, I do think it's a good time to cut it because I got to go do a couple other shits today. Yeah. And I do enjoy this conversation.
Nice talking to you, Holden.
On that note, I do want to. Do you have any like last words or shit you want to say to the people?
Look, don't fall for the hype is like the one main like lesson I can tell anybody in finances. Everything sounds sweet. There's always a gold rush. There's always like some weird thing that's going to come out. Just know that these hype games is a game of hot potato. You come in, then it gets hyped up. You got to get out before it drops, and that's the reality. You know, if you're buying something that doesn't have substance, you're buying based on hype. So you have to understand that hype and where you are in it. So just like watch out, understand the products that you're buying, and just look at resources, man. Just like there's shit out there. There's so much stuff. Like just reach out to an advisor and talk to them. You don't like what the guy's saying? Fucking go to another one. Like that's how it works. Just don't fall for traps.
Right.
You know,
So
ask for help.
it's like dating. Find one that you like. Facts.
Exactly.
I appreciate you all that are watching this. All the links are going to be in the description of the video, so you can go learn more about their blog and their education and their fun, nifty, interesting stuff that they got going on the site. Thank you all for being here, those of you that are still with us, and those of you watching this in the future, we appreciate you as well. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, comment, all that good shit. On that note, everyone, it has been a blast, so live long and prosper, everyone.